In the ancient world, before the emergence of the earth and sky, there was a mystical ocean that hid many mysteries and secrets. Among these waters lay the island of Santander, blessed by the goddess, and shining like the embodiment of perfection. Luxury and carefree life flourished on the island, as if the stars were illuminating their path into eternity. However, hidden among the glittering splendor of Santanara were slums filled with the dregs of society and their secret intrigues. Nino, an older man, threatens Adele, a green-haired girl, suspecting her of cheating, and the atmosphere between them becomes tense. Despite her fear, Adele tries to resist her face, revealing her determination to defend herself from the threats. Suddenly, the situation changes when it becomes clear that Adele is hiding more than she seems. Her true nature is revealed. The girl's unusual golden eyes reveal her inhuman nature, which shocks Nino and those around her. Adele picks up a mysterious glowing artifact, warning no one to come near her. Nino attempts to attack, but a clash between them ensues, filled with tension and anger. Nino chides Adele for her ingratitude, reminding her that he took her under his wing as an orphan. His anger and contempt intimidate the girl, tearing her apart emotionally. The scene escalates when Nino crushes the shoes and says, "Her life like shining shoes is pathetic." Adele is overcome with a feeling of humiliation. Nino grabs Adele roughly by the collar, emphasizing his strength. Wounded and crushed, she tries to resist, but remains helpless. Nino's threat is clear. If Adele doesn't repay her debt, she'll end up in a brothel. Her face is contorted with horror at the prospect. Adele's thoughts are filled with despair. She has 2 days left, and she must find the money at any cost. Her gaze is full of determination. Adele decides to continue working, cleaning mud from her boots. She tries to suppress her fear in order to find a way to escape this terrible fate. A choice emerges in her mind. Death is preferable to disgrace. This idea becomes an internal resistance to her circumstances. Meanwhile, Caesar Bonaparte appears, a mysterious and flamboyant man with an aura of power reading a book. His calm contrasts with Adele's chaos. Adele, upon seeing Caesar, realizes she cannot be bound to him by marriage. She furiously declares she would rather die than become his wife. The book's pages reveal Caesar's true identity, the subject of countless rumors, and Santanara's brightest star. For Adele, he is her inevitable destiny. The story begins with the mention of Lucrezia della Valle, the youngest daughter of a noble family whose fate is closely linked to a marriage contract. Lucia agrees to the marriage arranged between their families in the past. However, attention is focused on the heir of the Bonaparte family. High society is discussing Lucia's engagement, believing that she has won the heart of her chosen one. But in reality, the situation is different. Caesar Bonaparte appears a young man with blue hair and piercing yellow eyes, who wittily remarks on the falseness of what is happening. Meanwhile, Adele, a girl with dark green hair and bright yellow eyes, recognizes Caesar from afar and cannot believe her eyes. Adele considers asking Caesar for help, hoping that he might be able to help her and even give her a few gold coins. Caesar is thinking about a plan that, although it seems crazy, remains the only way to achieve his goal. Adele ponders her strategy, figuring that she needs to find the right girl to resolve the issue with the Della Valle family. Upon seeing Caesar, Adele feels that fate may give her a chance to change her life, considering it the opportunity of a lifetime. She feels the presence of luck and even the intervention of divine power, realizing that this moment could become a turning point in her destiny. Adele asks Caesar to sell her, promising to become the best lady in Santanara. This leaves her interlocutors perplexed. Caesar listens to Adele's explanation with surprise. She tries to convince him of her worth, claiming she can handle it better than anyone else. Adele explains that, as an experienced shoeshiner, she knows a lot about people and is confident that she will be an excellent candidate. To prove her seriousness, she calls herself Adele Vivi, demonstrating her determination and willingness to change her life. Adele says her abilities will help her handle any task better than others. She looks confidently at Caesar. Caesar doubts the girl's true intentions and wants to know if she understands his goals and desires. Adele reveals the purpose of her proposal. She knows that Caesar needs a girl to perform a certain task. She explains that she read about marriage contracts in the newspapers and concluded that the bride's surname is the key factor. The marriage contract only mentions last names, and Adele believes this gives her freedom of choice, allowing her to avoid unwanted commitments. Caesar understands Adele's plan. If he presents her as a suitable bride, he can avoid a marriage of convenience. But this raises doubts. Caesar, an elegant man with blue hair, tries to convince Adele that she has an important role to play in his plan, hinting at her potential. Caesar's friend admires her ability to gather information, but Caesar expresses irritation, considering the discussion a waste of time. The Delaval family's origins are emphasized. They are a family of scientists, which makes Adele a simple shoemaker unsuitable for their world. Caesar, with a mischievous glint in his eyes, promises that his choice will bring success. Adele is surprised, but her doubts remain. Those around her are amazed by her knowledge of languages when she mentions her self-education through books and observation. Caesar, in response to her modesty, is surprised at how easily she absorbs knowledge, but feels a mockery of fate in this situation. In a moment of doubt, Adele thinks about her role, but fears prevent her from believing in her abilities. Understanding the importance of outward appearances, Adele assesses her chances in the game. Caesar has started doubting whether she is ready. Caesar confidently states that she does not meet the high standards of his plan, causing mixed feelings in Adele. The scene ends with Caesar's intense gaze, hinting that everything is going according to his script, although Adele does not yet understand the full depth of the plan. Adele, looking back at Caesar, questions her suitability. She senses doubt and seeks confirmation in his gaze. Caesar assesses the girl and recalls the assignment to find a younger sister for an important role. He considers it a ridiculous task, but takes a closer look. Comparing their appearances, Caesar notices similarities in their eye and hair color. He wonders if Adele is right for the role. The dialogue unfolds. Caesar inquires about Adele's origins, verifying her heritage. She answers evasively, holding back her emotions. Caesar notes that lying can lead to execution, and sternly warns Adele of the danger. He inquires about her true motives. Adele slowly replies that her decision is dictated by a simple human need. She wants to eat, which makes Caesar think. Caesar, softening slightly, agrees that this is permissible. His gestures indicate that he has made a decision despite his doubts. He turns around and announces that he's taking her under his wing. Adele notices his determination, but her eyes remain wary. Adele sees strength and authority in Caesar, which simultaneously frightens and inspires her. She considers her future under his leadership. Her inner doubts dissolve into quiet acceptance. Adele senses that her decision will have a profound impact, but she doesn't yet understand the full extent of it. Adele looks at Caesar with regret, raising her hand to her heart, promising to meet again in the place they both long for. A tender longing hovers between them. Caesar notes with a slight smile that Adele quoted from the play, surprising him. He considers her an intelligent and insightful girl. On a rainy night, Adele waits at the train station, gazing into the distance. Thoughts of Caesar's accepted proposal fill her with hope, but leave her with anxiety. Adele tries to distract herself by spending time with a childhood friend, enjoying moments of comfort and warmth in memories of the past. Her friend smiles, filling the room with light. Adele shares her memories, but finds it difficult to admit to the changes taking place. Adele holds the letter, reflecting on her busy schedule. She struggles with doubts and indecision. Suddenly, a strange noise alerts him. She tenses, trying to figure out who could have come at such a late hour. Nino suddenly enters the door, his stern gaze and confidence confirming his suspicions. Tension fills the room. Adele tenses, considering her actions. Nino suspects deception and is ready to use force to discover the truth. A fight breaks out between Adele and Nino. Adele, defending herself, tries to keep the situation under control. Nino furiously pursues Adele, who is trying to escape. His angry scream echoes through the dark room, spurring her on to fight. Adele deftly evades Nino's attempt to grab her. The glowing energy in her hands reflects her determination not to give up. Before disappearing, Adele engages in a mysterious conversation. Her interlocutor warns her of mortal danger, asking a key question. Ernst, the Bonaparte family's butler, greets Adele at the gates of their stately home. His reserved manner adds to the tension of her arrival. Adele enters a magnificent mansion, where the owner is already waiting for her. The mystery and elegance of the surroundings make her wary. Adele is lost in thought, shaken by her experiences. At the same time, César Bonaparte greets her, embodying a mixture of charm and danger. Adele, gathering her courage, tells about a man named Nino, who uses fear to manipulate. She describes his methods and threats. She explains to Caesar that Nino is hunting her because she refuses to pay for protection. Her words are full of despair and hidden hope. Caesar, having heard the story, is puzzled. His tense expression shows that he is ready to weigh his actions in deciding Adele's future. Against the backdrop of pouring rain, Adele, overcome by disturbing thoughts, recalls the old man whose death had shocked her unexpectedly. Her eyes are full of bitterness and shock. Caesar, looking thoughtfully out the window, notes the force of the downpour reflecting on the day's events. His calm contrasts with the raging elements outside. The storm is so powerful that it destroys huts, leaving people homeless. The shoreline bears the marks of the tragedy, a reminder of the fragility of human life. Caesar notices Adele's troubled thoughts. He calmly asks what exactly is troubling her, making it clear he's ready to listen and help. Adele, trying to hide her vulnerability, denies having any problems. However, the tension in her gaze betrays the storm of emotions raging within. Caesar watches her closely. He understands that she's going through a difficult time, but he gives her time to recover, showing compassion and patience. Adele takes a deep breath, accepts the need to move on, and calmly accepts the situation. Her eyes are full of determination, despite the hidden pain. Caesar urges Adele not to worry, assuring her that with a clear plan, they can overcome any obstacle. He instills confidence in her with his calm. With a slight smile, Caesar says the time for formalities is over. Now is the time to act, preparing them for the decisive steps. A vision of golden light reminds Adele of her purpose. She must seduce the son of a powerful family to fulfill an important mission and save herself. Adele stands before a sumptuous curtain, tense and composed. She is being coached in perfect speech and movement, demanding that she become worthy of Bonaparte. Caesar calmly lights a cigar, announcing that Adele has been given 3 months to prove her worth. This test will determine her fate. The cigar hovers menacingly over the contract. Caesar hints that failure will destroy not only the agreement, but also her chances of success. The burning contract symbolizes the end of the agreement. Caesar calmly warns that failure will have personal consequences for hers. Adele reaches for the contract as if trying to understand its meaning. She's asked why the term is limited to 3 months. Caesar explains that her birthday is in exactly 3 months. This date will be the key point of their agreement. He remarks with slight mockery that Adele knows more about his family than he does relying only on newspaper clippings. Caesar's gaze penetrates deep, noticing a hidden reason in her knowledge, as if she knows too much about his life. He touches her chin intriguingly, suggesting that she might have a special interest in him beyond the contract. Adele, flustered, confronts him with his closeness. Caesar asks with a smile if she's showing a personal interest in him. Caesar reflects on the unexpected opportunity to help a girl from humble backgrounds, preparing to become her protector and brother. He watches her with a smile, hinting at future patronage. Adele displays a hidden vulnerability, but her gaze is intrinsically powerful. Caesar touches her chin, emphasizing his influence and importance in her life. She senses the difficulty of the choice, but understands that this opportunity is not worth wasting. Caesar warns Adele about boundaries, setting the rules for their interaction. His tone is light, but behind it lies an intention to show who's boss, maintaining the suspense. Adele responds to him with restraint, but firmness, expressing gratitude for the opportunity provided, but making it clear that she has no personal interest in him maintaining her independence. Her internal monologue reflects the contradictions of her feelings. She acknowledges Caesar's attractiveness, but considers him superficial, highlighting her insight and distrust. Caesar in turn laughs, suggesting she relax. His lightheartedness and charm contrast with Adele's seriousness, heightening the tension between them. During the conversation, he shares his experience, explaining that similar situations have happened in his life, before his words underscore the confidence and wisdom he's acquired over the years. Adele responds respectfully, calling him sir. A certain formality is established between them, strengthening their roles and positions in the relationship. Caesar invites her to call him brother, emphasizing the familial and symbolic bond he wishes to establish. His gaze radiates warmth and confidence in his own decision. Adele agrees to his request, calling him brother. At this point, Caesar declares that from now on, she will bear the name Adelaide Bonaparte, ending the scene by establishing a new bond between them. Adele recalls how she, 5 years younger, considered herself an ordinary girl from remote Capolo, until life brought her to the island of Santaner. On the island, she was greeted by a majestic world full of mysteries, where every detail hinted at an important reason for her stay there. Adele realizes that her connection with the Bonaparte family is becoming not just a secret, but a question that requires explanation in difficult situations. A tense dialogue takes place between her and Caesar, in which Adele suspects him of secret plans involving the head of their family. Against this gloomy backdrop, the figure of Eva Bonaparte, Caesar's grandmother, emerges a person whose word decides much in the fate of the family. Caesar reflects on his plans and realizes that without Eva's support, he won't be able to even start them, which forces him to look for ways to gain her approval. Caesar's secret hopes rest on Eva's desire to see great-grandchildren, which he believes will help him convince her to accept Adele. Adele comes to the conclusion that the chairwoman, Caesar's grandmother, is actually supporting his marriage plans, which gives her pause. During their conversation, Caesar hints that Adele is missing something really important that is changing her perception of what is happening. He reveals personal pain by mentioning his parents, making the conversation more frank and raising the issue of family secrets. Caesar looks at Adele with a stern smile and says that she must know everything about his family if she intends to pretend to be his sister. The atmosphere is tense. An old rumor comes to life. Caesar's parents were bound by a passion that drove them to leave their families and flee together, abandoning everything. 7-year-old Caesar was devastated when his parents moved away, leaving him with a mysterious legacy and a trail of unanswered questions. Caesar says that he is sparing Adele the trouble of explaining herself. From now on, she must tell everyone that she is the result of a mad surge of their love. After these words, he points to the door behind which a servant awaits them. Adele understands that she will now have to play this difficult role. Caesar coolly tells her he expects her to change, to appear more feminine next time. His cold concern stings. Adele responds to his challenge with a calm gaze, promising to try. Her determination becomes clear despite her inner doubts. The maid Effie introduces herself with a bow, saying it is a great honor to serve Adele. Her new role begins to take shape. Adele is overwhelmed by the splendor of her new room. The space glows with luxury, opening up a new world of status to her. Adele's gaze glides around the room. She realizes the estate is too ostentatious for her, but this is her reality now, and she must cope. Effie shows Adele the exquisite furnishings, explaining that everything in the room is designed for her comfort. Adele is embarrassed by the attention. The maid assesses the room's decor and finds it too simple for a lady, Adele hearing. This is quietly surprised, not considering such conditions modest. Effie assures Adele that she can freely express her wishes, but she only mumbles awkwardly, unsure how to respond. Effie announces that etiquette training will begin tomorrow. Noticing Adele's wet clothes, she insists she doesn't catch a cold. After preparing the bathroom, Effie asks Adele to take off her clothes so they can dry. Adele is taken aback by such a direct gesture. Effie leads Adele into a magnificent bathroom, striking her with the beauty of the furnishings. This adds to the girl's embarrassment. Adele tries to argue that she can handle washing herself, but Effie sternly explains that this is against noble rules. When Adele continues to resist, Effie says that her words are not a request, but an order, and insists on her own. Obediently agreeing, Adele takes off her outerwear. Effie notices the wounds on the girl's body, and her expression changes to one of concern. Effie is shocked to realize what she's seeing. Her gaze conveys confusion and alarm as she silently stares at the naked and vulnerable Adele. Adele painfully recalls how often she was subjected to cruelty, noting that the marks of beatings will fade, but the emotional wounds will remain forever. She looks down at Caesar, whose silent indifference seems icy and frightening to her, which increases her feeling of helplessness. The girl worries that Caesar might break the contract due to her exhausted state, foreseeing the worst consequences for himself. The maid Effie calmly reminds her that the contract will remain in effect until Adele marries a certain man. She advises Adele to stay away from Caesar to avoid trouble, and Adele, feeling a little support, thanks her. Effie notes that, despite the bruises, the most serious thing is Adele's exhaustion and fatigue, adding that this needs to be addressed urgently. She insists that Adele should focus on restoring her health, as she will now have to play the role of Lady Bonaparte. Meanwhile, in a luxurious office, Caesar is talking to Effie, asking about Adele's condition, calling her his dear sister. Effie reports multiple marks of beatings on Adele's body, indicating the need for time and care for her recovery. The maid emphasizes that by gaining weight and recovering, Adele will be able to reveal her natural beauty and become worthy of her new role. Caesar Bonaparte looks thoughtfully into the distance, noting Adele's beauty, even in her current state, which causes him conflicting feelings. He regrets that the girl is his half-sister, realizing their connection complicates his thoughts. Effie interrupts his thoughts, reminding him of his situation. Caesar smirks and declares that he has no intention of harming Adele, assuring those around him that his plans remain within the bounds of propriety. However, he is resolute in his intentions. As soon as the marriage issues are settled, Adele's life will be in danger. Adele stands by the window early in the morning, watching the fishing boats return to the harbor, her thoughts occupied with memories of the past. She recalls the fishermen's familiar rhythm of life and how fish that failed to sell return to the shelves. For her, this species symbolizes the loss of the simplicity of her former life. Her days used to be spent scavenging for food on the docks, but now she's surrounded by luxury. The contrast between her poverty and her new status still strikes her. Adele wonders if she has the strength to cope with the changes and new responsibilities, her face expressing anxiety and inner struggle. Adele looked thoughtfully ahead, holding the book in her hands, wondering if she would be able to cope with the difficulties that had befallen her. Her room was filled with the soft light of morning, but she felt she wouldn't be able to fall asleep again. Her thoughts were too restless. At that moment, Effie, her maid, entered the room and asked how the night had gone. Adele assured her that everything was fine. When Effie asked if she had felt uncomfortable sleeping, Adele replied reservedly that she was used to getting up early, and it didn't bother her at all. Adele glanced at the maid and asked what awaited her today. Effie, with a slight reproach, reminded her of her busy schedule. The maid noted that she saw enthusiasm in her mistress's eyes, but warned that the day would be busy starting with breakfast. Effie led Adele into the dining room, where a beautifully presented morning of exquisite dishes and refined furnishings awaited her. As Adele sat down at the table, Effie asked her about her food preferences, which was followed by a short but confident answer. Adele emphasized that she was ready to eat anything as long as it was fresh food, which caused a slight smile from the maid, who noted her unpretentiousness. Effie reminded everyone that good table manners were part of her training and began to explain which utensils to use to begin a meal. Adele sat carefully following Effie's instructions, which were to keep her back straight and not rest her elbows on the table, creating an atmosphere of sternness. Trying to follow directions, Adele demonstrated her skill at dinner, and Effie praised her for her efforts, making her feel proud. The dishes that were served looked magnificent. Beef carpaccio, fish linguine, and halibut. Everything looked like a work of art. Adele's delight reached its peak when she tasted the food. Her face lit up with joy, and she mentally savored every bite. However, Adele soon began to doubt herself, believing she had been eating too greedily. Her shyness manifested itself in a blush on her cheeks. Effie, noticing this, smiled warmly and assured Adele that she was pleased to see her enjoying her food, reassuring the girl. Effie encouraged Adele to eat more frequently, to gain weight, supporting her with care and attention. After the meal, the maid offered to give Adele a tour of the estate, adding that it would help Adele better adapt to her new surroundings. Effie showed Adele the library, the boardroom, the gallery, and the billiard room, admiring the beauty and elegance of the interiors. As they were finishing their walk, the maid mentioned that Mr. Caesar's office was in the center. She reminded them of the special rule, to enter without knocking. Adele eyed Effie warily and asked if there was anything she needed to know. Effie paused, preparing for an important conversation. The cathedral's majestic silhouette underscored the gravity of the moment, as Effie began to reveal that Adele's contract was known to 6 people. Effie admitted that she was among those people. However, soon another person would learn about the contract, hinting at something important. She mentioned Lady Fravia, a strict but experienced mentor, who would teach Adele the manners and behavior needed in their world. Adele received instructions on how to greet Miss Fravia. Effie began explaining the basics of proper etiquette, starting with gestures. Effie taught Adele to keep her back straight, her knees slightly bent, adding the finishing touch with a graceful tilt of the head. Adele repeated the movements with grace, which impressed Effie. She remarked on how quickly Adele learned new things. As she wrapped up the day, Effie praised Adele for her efforts and wished her a peaceful sleep under the protection of the sea goddess. A silence enveloped Adele's nighttime peace, a contrast to the bustle of life in Camorra. She enjoyed a peace she had never known before. Lying in silence, Adele reflected on how her life had changed. She was surprised to realize that she could now enjoy simple pleasures. The stormy sea symbolizes Adele's inner storm. The word run reflects her fear and the inevitability of the impending threat. Effie calls out to Adele, in a panic recognizing the danger. Her gaze is filled with concern, and her eagerness to convey information leaves no doubt about the urgency of the situation. Lady Fravia suddenly appears, filling the stage with her cool confidence. She awes with her commanding presence and stern manner. Effie tries to persuade Adele to get dressed faster, emphasizing the importance of every moment. Adele looks exhausted, as if she doesn't understand what's happening. The Loredan family is presented as servants of the Bonaparte Fravia, managed to stand out, strengthening her influence in secular society through her charisma. Fravia is renowned for her beauty and elegance. Her appearance and manners are admired, underscoring her importance in high society. Fravia is outraged by Adele's appearance and demands an explanation. Her displeasure highlights the contrast between their worlds, the secular and the chaotic. Fravia's cruel nature is well known. Her condemnation of Adele sounds not like words, but like a sentence reinforced by her stern gaze. Adele feels humiliated. Her posture bespeaks helplessness. Fravia sees her lack of manners and regards it as shameful. Adele's gaze fills with determination. She considers her situation, realizing that the only way to change the attitudes of others is through her own actions. Caesar unexpectedly encounters Fravia in the early morning hours and expresses genuine surprise. He appears seductive and confident, leaving Fravia slightly unsettled. Determined to discuss important matters, Lady Fravia resolutely approaches Caesar. Her energetic stride and straightforward manner demonstrate the seriousness of her intentions. However, Caesar playfully throws her off guard by unexpectedly invading her personal space, causing Fravia visible shock. His actions disconcert her, but he maintains his confidence. Caesar, taking advantage of the situation, asks how she spent the previous night, hinting at his interest in her well-being. Fravia, despite her agitation, tries to maintain her composure. He invites her to dinner, expressing his delight at the opportunity to spend time with her. Fravia, a little nervous, accepts, acknowledging his influence on her. Caesar ends the conversation with a smile, emphasizing the importance of their meeting. His confident gaze leaves Lady Fravia unmoved, and she remains slightly perplexed. She tries to express her emotions, but finds herself at a loss for words, feeling the growing pressure from the charismatic Caesar. The situation is becoming increasingly difficult for her. They exchange humorous thoughts about appearance and cunning, making their interactions simultaneously tense and lighthearted. The atmosphere softens slightly. Caesar, with a slight smile, emphasizes that he's arrived at an inopportune moment, implying Fravia's possible embarrassment. She can barely contain her surprise and indignation at his words. Adele, standing nearby, watches the proceedings, pondering the strangeness of the situation. She feels isolated and hopes for support, but remains in the shadows of events. Adele, a girl with bright yellow eyes, looks cold and distant, evoking mixed feelings in those around her. Men gossip about her, believing she will never be part of their plan, which hurts her pride. In a fit of rage, Lady Fravia accuses Adele of disrespect. Her voice is thick with anger, underscoring the depth of their conflict. Adele is subjected to a humiliating examination when Lady Fravia notices her wounds. The woman angrily demands an explanation, her face contorted with disdain. Adele tries to defend her dignity, insisting that nothing terrible happened. She modestly explains that the abrasions will heal, but there's a note of dejection in her voice. Caesar Bonaparte firmly declares that this must not interfere with their plans. His words are full of confidence, which counters Adele's weakness. One of those present declares that a girl like Adele is unworthy of their circle. Her past, marked by humiliation, is used against her to highlight her insignificance. Fravia accuses Adele of laziness and uselessness. She claims that even if Adele lives 100 years, she will never become a worthy aristocrat. Fravia points out that Adele used her body to achieve status, revealing her contempt. The girl remains silent, her gaze filled with hidden fire. Adele's memories flash back to a scene where a man rudely humiliates her, calling her a dirty rat. Her past is filled with pain and shame. Another person from her memories mocks her, pointing out her inability to perform even the simplest tasks. This shadow of the past reflects the difficulties she had to overcome. Adele faces the wrath of a man demanding money for the past week. His aggression underscores the difficult situation she finds herself in. Containing her emotions, Adele humbly apologizes to Lady Fravia, clutching the fabric of her robe. She promises to try harder, acknowledging her shortcomings. Fravia, blinded by her own arrogance, contemptuously questions Adele, pointing out the insignificance of her efforts and her feeble attempt to justify herself. Fravia furiously reproaches Adele, claiming that she is incapable of deceiving those who have been in high society since birth by challenging her place there. Adele, despite her emotions, thinks proudly of how presumptuously the lady judges a man who knows what it means to live in poverty. Admitting her insecurities, Adele reflects on how she never had parents or mentors. But her brother's faith inspires her. She claims that her brother would not have brought her to this house if he did not believe in her abilities, despite Fravia's disdain. Adele suddenly turns the conversation in her favor, hinting that if there is a problem, perhaps it should be discussed directly. Lady Fravia maintains her arrogance, but is clearly hurt by the girl's words. She insists that Adele discuss this with her brother. Adele remains determined and confident, ready to face criticism, knowing that her place here is due to her brother's support. Lady Fravia reproachfully suggests that Adele turn to her brother, but her gaze is full of hidden threat, causing tension in the dialogue. Adele calmly responds, apologizing for her rudeness, explaining that no one taught her manners, which causes confusion in Fravia. Fravia, making excuses abruptly, leaves citing an urgent meeting, hiding her true emotions under a mask. Caesar is delighted with his new sister, his pride visible in his confident smile, as if he had found a worthy ally. Adele thanks him, shyly, worried that Caesar might have noticed her bruises, hiding his true feelings behind it. Caesar confidently declares that Adele possesses strength that cannot be manipulated, and that she will have a difficult path with Lady Fravia. His gentle mockery warns his sister to be more flexible, emphasizing that stubbornness could complicate her situation. Adele reflects that Fravia, despite everything, may be more sympathetic than she seems, which awakens hope. She is resolute in saying that she will never pretend to be weak, asserting her independence and inner strength. Caesar, smiling, provokes Adele, doubting her sincerity, but hiding in this his admiration for her firmness. Caesar stops casting a mocking glance at Adele, reminding her of the life she lived before and how strange everything is now. He comes closer, his steps accentuating the tension, indicating the game they are engaged in, as if testing her patience. With a smile, Caesar suggests that Adele is capable of coping with any circumstances, masterfully adapting to the situation. Leaning closer, he provokes Adele with a direct question, a dangerous game glint in his yellow eyes. Adele looks into his eyes, realizing that this is nothing more than a provocation, a test of her reaction and resilience. While apologizing, Adele realizes that Caesar is testing her to see how she will behave, but she does not want to be his entertainment. She promises to make an effort to live up to his expectations, but in her heart, she firmly resolves to remain true to herself and not give in. Caesar leaves, making a half-hearted comment about how boring everything is becoming, leaving Adele pensive. The next day, Adele prepares to meet Fravia, a training session that promises new challenges and opportunities. Effie, opening the door, assures Adele that everything will be fine, giving her some peace of mind before the upcoming lessons. Adele listens intently as Effie, holding back her emotions, says that she must obey Master Caesar's orders, despite her doubts. Her name is mentioned with a hint of disdain. Adelaide Bonaparte. This nickname sounds like a challenge and emphasizes her unequal status. Madame Fravia humiliates Adele, claiming the Bonaparte name is unworthy of a simple married woman. Her words are full of fury and contempt. Adele listens to the insults in silence, maintaining her dignity. Her face remains cold, though her gaze betrays anger and pain. Fravia reminds us that Lord Caesar tasked her with making a proper lady out of Adele. However, she clearly chose harsh methods. Adele is stunned by Fravia's demand that she kneel. It goes against her pride, and her shock is evident on her face. Resentment brews within Adele. She doesn't understand why she's so despised. She accuses Fravia of intending to hurt her. Adele admits her life has always been on her knees. As a shoeshine girl, she's accustomed to humiliation, but it drives her to fight. Fravia towers over Adele, indicating that her training will require absolute submission. Her posture is menacing. Adele understands that this conflict is only the beginning. She vows to achieve her goal despite the humiliations and obstacles. Mrs. Fravia scornfully reminds Adele of her situation, calling her nothing more than a commodity destined for the Valley family. Fravia, taking up her cane, looks down at Adele and demands that the girl understand her place and obey without question. Adele, overcoming her fear, slowly rises, and Fravia orders her training to begin in order to make her a worthy servant. Pointing with her cane, Fravia explains that education begins with proper posture, demonstrating the importance of social behavior. Against the backdrop of a sunny window, Fravia presents Adele with a pair of black shoes, assuring her that they will correct her awkward gait. Adele picks up the shoes full of distrust, but understands that from now on, she is obliged to wear them even in her free time. As she puts on her shoes, Adele feels the ordeal is difficult for her, until Fravia is impatient, demanding that she start walking. Following strict orders, Adele takes her first steps, feeling her body tense under her mistress's condemning gaze. Fravia points her cane, setting a strict route around the room, so that Adele continues walking until she is told to stop. Adele continues to move, overcoming fear and pain, under the watchful eye of Fravia, realizing that there is no turning back. Adele, with a heavy heart, falls to the cold floor, realizing her helplessness before Lady Fravia. Her dress is torn, but she does not give in. Her shoes fall to the floor with a dull sound, and she cries out in despair that she can't take it anymore, showing her despair and pain. Sitting on the floor, Adele glares at Fravia, realizing her mistress doubts her ability to learn. This humiliates and offends her. Fravia harshly declares that Adele is unworthy of becoming part of the Bonaparte family, demanding that she leave the premises immediately, accompanied by threats. Her face is twisted into a wicked grin, pleased with her plan to push Adele to the brink until she breaks and refuses to fight. Adele stands up despite the pain and the small, uncomfortable shoes, without saying a word. She is determined to continue despite the humiliation. In the rays of light, Adele asks if she needs to repeat herself, demonstrating resilience and inner strength that makes those around her think. Fravia loses her composure, declaring that she will no longer tolerate Adele's presence. She is beside herself with rage. Fravia demands that Effie leave the room to be alone with Adele, determined to continue pressuring the girl. Effie calmly responds that she cannot disobey Caesar's orders by staying with Adele. Fravia is forced to promise to take responsibility. Mrs. Fravia calmly states that she does not intend to punish Adele, despite the current situation, demonstrating her determination and strictness. Effie swears on the Lorden family's behalf that she will fulfill her obligations. Her seriousness underscores her sincere desire to prove her loyalty. Madame Fravia leaves the room with cool grace, leaving behind an atmosphere of tension. Adele watches her lost in thought. Fravia speaks harshly to Adele, calling her a shoeshine girl, and decides not to hide her true intentions by throwing out harsh words. Adele is directly ordered to leave the estate. Lady Fravia displays obvious contempt, emphasizing her intransigence. Adele calmly replies that her fate is determined by the one who brought her here. However, Fravia insists that the conversation is with her specifically, comparing the Lordan and Bonaparte families. Fravia states that people like Adele are unworthy of being part of respectable families, displaying their social snobbery. Adele lowers her eyes as Fravia coldly advises her to leave if she understands her place. The girl feels the full weight of humiliation. Fravia adds that the Lorden family will provide Adele with protection and offer good money, emphasizing that this is a gesture of mercy, not a confession. Adele, with a piercing gaze, concludes that Fravia's true goal is to arrange Caesar's marriage to Lucretia. Lady Fravia keeps a close eye on Adele, accusing her of carrying out her brother's orders, but sensing that her intentions are different. Adele apologizes to her mistress, lowering her gaze and showing her indecision, hinting at an internal struggle with the order. Mrs. Fravia states that she is forced to inform her brother of what happened emphasizing the importance of respecting boundaries and submission. Fravia, irritated, reminds him that this marriage is obligatory by the will of Lady Eva, expecting Adele's unconditional consent, emphasizing the long-standing ties between their families. Fravia warns of the binding nature of the marriage contract, threatening the consequences of refusal. Adele seems confused, but her confidence grows. She doesn't fear Fravia's reproaches, internally resolving to resist the pressure. Fravia resorts to accusations calling Adele greedy, but her attacks are met with a decisive explanation that it is not about money at all. Adele expresses her gratitude to the lady with restraint, maintaining her dignity, but internally gathering strength for a final answer. She confidently declares the impossibility of carrying out an order, reflecting her inner strength and devotion to her principles. An indignant Fravia raises her voice, but Adele remains unmoved, emphasizing that her decision is a matter of honor, not profit. Adele, savoring the moment, admits she enjoys the food at the estate. Her confidence and calm contrast with the luxurious atmosphere around her. Mrs. Fravia is shocked by Adele's words. Her bewilderment turns to obvious irritation, as her expectations have clearly been dashed. Adele explains that the money and future they talk about at the estate mean nothing to her. She considers such luxury alien to her life. Adele's thoughts take us back to her past. She remembers those who fought for survival every day, and realizes she cannot give up her path. Reflecting on her past, Adele believes that promises of a future are just a mirage. She doesn't believe in beautiful words that conceal emptiness. Fravia, without restraining her emotions, chides Adele for her presumption. She compares the girl to a hungry beast, revealing her irritation and contempt. Adele acknowledges the lady's rightness, adding that she has never known any other life. Her past is full of hardships, and she cannot betray her convictions. Adele recalls how hunger kept her from sleeping, and how she had to live on stale bread for months. These memories became the foundation of her strength. She describes living in constant uncertainty, where every day depended on whether she could find even a little food. So she turns Fravia down. Despite everything, Adele decides to remain at the Bonaparte estate. Her choice is made for her mistress, demonstrating her fortitude and determination. The man with the cold gaze experiences terrible indignation. His face expresses disgust and an internal struggle with the situation that makes him angry. Adele appears awkward in her elegant dress, but she has an undeniable charm that commands respect, especially her composure in uncomfortable shoes. In an empty room with a huge window, a man loses control of his emotions, considering what is happening to be some kind of misunderstanding that he cannot accept. Adele and the man meet eyes, and a strange attraction arises between them, filled with tension and genuine sincerity. The man is at a loss and realizes that he urgently needs to find a way to get rid of Adele, fearing her influence on his thoughts and feelings. A week passes under the tutelage of Lady Fravia, and Adele immerses herself in her studies, imperceptibly losing track of time. The lessons become not only a training in manners and etiquette, but also a challenging process in which Adele strives to surpass herself. While walking with Mrs. Adele, she demonstrates a confident posture and perfect gait, which earns the approval of those around her and her mentor. Mrs. Fravia expresses admiration for the speed with which Adele masters the difficult science of social life, confirming her natural talent. In another lesson, where Adele balances herself with a book on her head, it becomes clear that her work and aspirations are worthy of respect. Adele, a girl with dark green hair, amazes Mrs. Fravia with her intelligence. She notes that Adele quickly grasps the material, emphasizing her natural intelligence. Fravia advises Adele to put her knowledge into practice, noting how she successfully changes the perceptions of those around her. Now, no one suspects that Adele comes from a lower class. Adele, pondering the praise, hides her embarrassment behind her fan. She realizes her path is not easy, but rejoices in her successes, which even Lady Fravia can see. While out for a walk, Adele spots women she's never seen before. Effanie, her maid, informs her they are guests from Orkanen, a mysterious kingdom. Curious, Adele asks what brought them here. Effanie explains that Adele was too busy studying and missed the important events of the last few days. Effanie reveals that the second prince of Orkanen recently ascended to the throne. This turning point came as a surprise to everyone, given his slim chances of success. The new emperor's chief assistant was Caesar, whose efforts enabled the prince to rule. His role in this historic event was enormous. In gratitude for his support, the emperor sent gifts to Caesar, including rare works of art and jewels. These events caused considerable unrest in the surrounding area. Adele sees changes in society and realizes that her brother Caesar has increased his influence, securing a place for himself next to the new ruler. Looking up, Adele realizes that this is only the beginning. Her own role in these events will be part of a larger journey, one where she will have to realize her full potential. A young girl, her gaze slightly alarmed, turns to her friend when a tall man catches their attention. A luxurious palace glows in the background, heightening the solemnity of the moment. Caesar Bonaparte enters their circle. His piercing gaze, framed by his bright blue hair, captivates those present. The girls gaze at him, captivated by his natural charm and refined manner. Caesar moves on conversation with those around him, turning into a social game. With a slight gesture, he brings two women closer together, as if playfully manipulating the situation. Smiles flicker across their faces, and a festive atmosphere hangs in the air. His figure stands out from the crowd. Graceful and confident, Caesar draws attention with his charisma. He attracts admiring glances, heightening his aura of sophistication and superiority. Despite the outward sparkle, a tinge of sadness lurks behind his eyes. A melancholy shadow appears in the shadows of his impenetrable face, adding depth to the image of a man beloved by fate. Caesar steps aside with his interlocutor, both trying to remain unnoticed. Their steps and words are lost in the shadows of the columns, emphasizing their desire to avoid unnecessary attention. His attentive gaze once again takes center stage. Caesar catches a glimpse of something in the distance, and his comment surprises his interlocutors. His reaction intrigues and adds to the mystery. He approaches one of the ladies with a smile. Gently covering her eyes, he plays along in his usual manner. A gentle but confident joker who knows his own worth. Looking playfully into her eyes, he takes her hand, adding a touch of warmth to his refined manner. His actions are both embarrassing and admirable. Leaning toward the girl, he quietly speaks words, leaving a hint of intrigue. She, shy and charmed, agrees, and a subtle line of anticipation sets their conversation on a more personal note. Caesar Bonaparte meets a woman who anxiously asks him to confirm his serious intentions. She promises to come if he proves his sincerity. Her eyes are full of hope, but her words leave him with mixed feelings. The man reflects on how her naivety and expectations irritate him. Her perception of their night together seems overly significant to him. Caesar restrains his emotions, hiding his irony behind a calm smile. Caesar runs his hand through her golden hair, remembering how he once found it beautiful. But now a hint of disinterest creeps into his thoughts, as if the magic has vanished. His gaze drifts to the memory of another dark-haired woman. She occupies his thoughts, and in comparison to her, the current meeting loses its significance. The past seems to eclipse the present. The woman calls him cute, trying to get his attention. Her charm no longer touches him. He looks down at her as if assessing her with cold detachment. She wonders where he gets all this self-confidence from. She begins to feel humiliated under his intense gaze. A resentment that she barely suppresses awakens in her heart. Suddenly, her emotions burst forth. She decides to leave, furious at his indifference. Her voice trembles with indignation, but Caesar merely indifferently wishes her caution on the way. Caesar is left alone, surrounded by curious glances from others. His expression remains cold, and he thinks about how tiring this empty talk and other people's expectations are. He ventures deeper into the forest, recalling the direction he thought the woman had gone. The image of another woman flickers in his mind again, the one whose shadow continues to haunt him. Caesar hears a cry for help. His golden eyes tensely scan the trees for the slightest movement. Instinct tells him something unexpected awaits him. Adele collapses, her strength failing her. The maid, Effie, shaken by the situation, runs to her, determined to help, calling out her name with concern. Effie insists that Adele's legs need to be checked. She comes closer, concerned about her appearance, ready to provide first aid, even though Adele tries to hide her pain. Adele, sitting on the edge, lifts her bloodied feet. Effie realizes her shoes are the cause of her suffering. She confidently declares that she can't wear them anymore. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, Adele, struggling to endure the pain, asks for medication to cope. Her yellow eyes, filled with pain and determination, express defiance. She hopes to hold out longer with the help of painkillers. Effie holds back her emotions, holding the ill-fated shoes in her hands. She's overcome with guilt, her face full of compassion. Her words convey the full weight of the moment. The maid announces that classes are over for the day. Her tone is stern, but her eyes are filled with concern. She bows to Adele, acknowledging her tenacity, but insisting on the need for rest. Effie suggests Adele soak her feet in cold water to ease the pain. She promises to bring a wheelchair, showing concern and understanding for her condition. Adele feels the cool water ease the pain. She reflects on the hardships of her life, realizing that her current situation is nothing compared to the life in the slums she endured. Against the backdrop of a tranquil garden, the men discuss The Heart of a Mermaid and the upcoming ball. Their conversation is full of intrigue, hinting at the future, and their words pique the listener's interest in what is happening. Adele notices strangers approaching her. Her gaze is wary, but her regal bearing and determination remain unchanged despite everything she's been through. Adele, hiding behind a statue, watched the men approach. They were discussing Lady Lucretia's absence, waiting for her at the ball. Adele's anxiety grew as they needed to avoid detection. One of the men noted that Mr. Della had told them not to rush her engagement, but everything was moving toward a wedding. Meanwhile, Adele kept a low profile, fearing being caught. A man with a keen eye notices something strange and heads toward Adele. The girl inwardly cringes with fear, realizing that her hiding place might be compromised. Suddenly, one of the men loudly attracted the other's attention, pointing to the fountain. They discovered a girl soaking wet trying to hide in the water, but she had been spotted. Adele tried to break free, but her movements were awkward due to her wet clothes. The man grabbed her arm, watching her struggles with a hint of mockery. The second man intervened, chiding his comrade for his cruelty. He defended himself by saying the girl had fallen, but the expression on his face betrayed a hidden pleasure in the situation. Adele, sitting on the wet ground, heard a mocking question about who she was. The man assumed she wasn't from a noble family because she wasn't wearing shoes, but her clothes betrayed something more. Her silence elicited a smirk, and the man declared that she risked punishment for her insolence. Adele, gathering her strength, looked him coldly in the eyes, betraying no emotion. The man leaned closer, assuming the girl was enjoying the humiliation. Adele clenched her fists tighter, ready to defend her honor, but aware of the risk. The second man tried to stop his comrade, reminding him where they were. In the tense atmosphere, Adele realized that her survival depended solely on her courage and ability to conceal her true identity. The enraged young man, brazenly interrupting the conversation, dismisses the accusations, questioning the Bonaparte family's status. His aggression causes tension among those present, but he is warned to stop. Adele, her golden eyes blazing discreetly, reminds him of her physical weakness. Her words are laced with the threat that her patience is wearing thin, and her hand could be damaged if the man's grip continues. One of the men looks at her doubtfully, weighing her words. He seems to mock her speech, noticing her refined tone, and this irony only heightens the tension. Adele resolutely pleads for release, her anger palpable in every movement. Her silhouette is surrounded by glowing flowers, emphasizing her determination, despite the obvious physical pressure. The young men exchange curious glances at her determination. Their faces begin to contort, with a mixture of surprise and strange admiration, adding to the poignancy of the moment. One of the men teases her with a smirk, mentioning that he sees something unexpected in her gaze. He's presumably commenting on her situation, as if mocking her background. A deep light surrounds Adele, and her face takes on a mystical expression. She's tense, but ready to counterattack. The men begin to show fear and uncertainty in their actions. The man tries to hold her back, but his grip becomes aggressive. Adele screams her resistance, causing flashes of light to appear around her, a symbol of her inner strength. The man sarcastically yells at Adele, claiming her actions are pointless because people of her status will never be accepted as equals. His words are filled with mockery. The scene escalates. The man tugged menacingly at her hand, demanding that she come with him. Adele resisted, her eyes shining with determination to disobey, despite his threats and physical pressure. In the center of the fountain, young men are arguing, and one of them calls out to Caesar. His figure is defined by its determination. The atmosphere is tense, and his voice calls for conflict, as if a serious quarrel is brewing. Caesar turns his yellow eyes flashing with disdain. His sarcastic grin underscores his arrogance, reminding his interlocutor how insulting words can come back like a boomerang. The man, Henry, is nervous. His gaze is full of confusion and bewilderment. He tries to answer, but the words stick in his throat. Despair gives way to anger, as if he realizes he's losing the argument. Caesar steps forward, his silhouette looming large over the disputants. His tone is threatening. He's hinting that he might reveal Henry's actions to his father, heightening the tension. Caesar mockingly mentions how Henry's father once asked for money. His contempt is obvious, but it's more than just a reproach. He enjoys watching his opponent's reaction. Reminiscing about the past, Caesar recounts how Henry's father once came with his wife to elicit pity. This episode demonstrates the lengths a person will go to for personal gain. Henry reacts furiously to Caesar's words. His anger boils over, but his comrades hold him in check. His face contorts in impotent rage, and those around him try to calm his outburst. The third character in the scene attempts to reason with Caesar, reproaching him for his cruelty. His attempt to awaken compassion reflects his weakness in the face of Caesar's firmness. Caesar contemptuously recalls how Henry humiliated his sister by calling her a brothel girl. His tone is cold, but his eyes flash with righteous anger, proving he is ready to defend his family. Henry suddenly realizes who this girl is. He sees before him Caesar's younger sister, Adele. Her appearance is imbued with pride and innocence, highlighting the difference between her and the gossip. Caesar, his expression menacing, approaches the man who is trying to justify himself. The tension in the air grows, and his gaze makes it clear he will not tolerate lies or weakness. Adele remains aloof. Lost in thought, Caesar utters Adele's name, as if holding an invisible connection to her. A turning point occurs, transforming the atmosphere. The wet surface reflects his determination. Caesar's heart sank as he saw a shocking sight before him. His face darkened, his voice stern but filled with hidden pain. His yellow eyes blazed, demanding an explanation. He encounters men trying to justify their behavior. One of them tries to sound innocent, but his voice trembles. Caesar ignores their pathetic attempts to prove his innocence. The man loses his composure and screams, accusing Caesar of lying. He calmly but firmly declares that Adele is his family. His certainty crushes all doubt. Caesar declares that his parents' love is beyond the judgment of others. He makes it clear that he has no intention of making excuses to those who don't even deserve his attention. The men apologize, trying to justify their actions, claiming they couldn't recognize Adele as a girl from a noble family. Their words ring hollow against the backdrop of the prevailing tension. Caesar helps Adele to her feet. He sees her bare feet covered in bruises, which only strengthens his resolve to protect her from the world. They exchange knowing glances. The final scene conveys a touching and quiet intimacy between Caesar and Adele. He seems not only to be her protector, but also the one who understands her soul. The scene ends with emotion and hope. Adele, feeling guilty before her family, recounts how she tried not to disgrace the Bonaparte family. She trained gruelingly, unaware of how she injured her legs to preserve the family's honor. She was forced to call Zoe, as it had become difficult to move around on her own. This led to an awkward situation as the guests began whispering, and Adele realized that such problems were unacceptable at the Bonaparte estate. Caesar chides Adele for her overzealousness, reminding her that her health is more important than her reputation. However, she hesitates, as becoming the object of ridicule in high society seems unacceptable to her. He, showing his concern, says that family members shouldn't think like that. His words and closeness touched Adele, who considers such family relationships unusual. She recalls having never heard anything like it before in her life. She is surprised by the warmth she feels for the first time, wondering if this is what true aristocratic family bonds look like. Adele ponders how the ladies would react to such attention from their brother. These thoughts resonate in her heart when Caesar sincerely thanks her, and she responds with words of gratitude. Caesar, demonstrating his tenderness and strength, lifts Adele into his arms. This evokes a sense of security in her, highlighting the contrast between their relationship and her past experiences. The servants watching them are stunned. They discuss their family ties, noting the similarity in their appearance, and doubting whether they are truly brother and sister. Caesar, casting a penetrating glance at the onlookers, indicates that they have paid sufficient attention to his sister. His confidence makes the others hesitate and fall silent. The men defend themselves, claiming they were merely trying to stop Adele, unaware of her status. Caesar questions their actions, implying they would have gone further if she weren't his sister. The group of people standing before Caesar Bonaparte look frightened. They make excuses, admitting their mistake and trying to make amends. Caesar coldly assures them that they can rest easy, but tension and anxiety are evident on their faces. Caesar holds Adele in his arms, his gaze full of a hint of control and power. He reminds her that he doesn't know everything about these people's families and openly threatens to do something terrible to their loved ones. Adele looks away reservedly. Caesar notices Adele's reaction and, smiling, asks what's bothering her. The question sounds more provocative, his voice full of confidence. Adele remains in his arms, her visible emotions underscoring her inner turmoil. Caesar carries Adele through the forest, illuminated by the soft rays of the sun, without stopping. He warns her to be patient for a little while longer. The landscape highlights the contrast between their surroundings and the tense atmosphere. Caesar suddenly reflects on what's happening, his eyes becoming stern. He reflects on the lengths he had to go to achieve his goals. His gaze suggests an internal struggle and possible regret. Caesar and Adele are in a richly decorated hall. His voice softens as he apologizes. In that moment, a hint of vulnerability and sincerity passes between them. Adele asks him to let her go. She looks tired, but her voice is full of restrained dignity. Their gazes meet, creating a tense moment, full of unspoken words and feelings. Suddenly, Adele falls to the floor, breaking free from Caesar's embrace. Her movements are sharp, emphasizing her determination. Caesar remains where he is, his gaze filled with a mixture of anger and surprise. Caesar reacts to the situation with a sarcastic grin, commenting on what just happened. His calm evokes the feeling that he's in complete control of the situation, despite the unexpected turn of events. A weakened Adele lies on the floor, explaining that she can't move without a chair. Caesar coolly asks about her escort, his tone maintaining its authority, emphasizing the difference in their status. Caesar, with a calm and determined demeanor, speaks words that indicate he understands what has happened, but he clearly didn't order it to happen. His expression radiates restrained displeasure. Adele lies on the floor, her helplessness underscoring the gravity of the situation. Caesar adds that he made no pact with someone so weak and unable to even rise. The girl apologizes, her voice shaking as she admits her mistakes. Adele tries to stand, but feels a sharp pain. Her eyes fill with determination as she clings to the world around her. Her movements are filled with pain, but the awakening of an inner strength becomes evident. Caesar leans toward the girl and, with a cold, piercing gaze, asks her a question, hinting at her strange actions. He demands an explanation for her reckless behavior, which could have ruined everything. His words become harsher when he mentions where she might have learned such methods. He rebukes her, asking rhetorically whether any man is truly acceptable to her, regardless of the consequences. Tension rises in the room. Caesar steps back, but his anger remains palpable. He tries to understand the chaos that occurred in the garden, his mind clamoring for an explanation, and the atmosphere grows tense. Adele struggles to her feet, her gaze reflecting determination. She struggles to stand and asks if Caesar is accusing her of provoking men. Her voice is full of hurt, but also sincerity. Caesar, looking down at her, replies with the implication that it might have been obvious. His words ring out like a death sentence, and Adele desperately denies guilt. Her emotions boil, but she refuses to give in. She insists she wasn't trying to seduce anyone. Her words are charged with defiance and a struggle to be heard. The tension in the room grows, as if something momentous is about to happen. Caesar, with a slight chuckle, makes a caustic remark about her demeanor. His voice is sarcastic, but beneath it lies an ironic interest in her future actions. Caesar Bonaparte, looking coldly at Adele, accuses her of failing to achieve her goals. He sarcastically hints that she could try begging for forgiveness or flattering him to achieve her goals. Adele, sinking to the floor, is overcome by Caesar's angry tone. She hears him say that there are many ways to earn someone's favor in the world, and she is clearly hurt by his contempt. Caesar, his yellow eyes blazing, reminds Adele that she's adept at suppressing her pride for the sake of gain. He mockingly asks why she doesn't apply those skills to solve her problem. Tears cloud Adele's eyes. She admits her guilt alone. A dark silhouette on the wall reflects her broken spirit, and a quiet voice within her repeats the words that she is wrong. Caesar, observing Adele's broken state, merely briefly remarks that he is glad she realized it. His cold tone betrays a lack of empathy, though his words hint at satisfaction. Adele remains on the floor, her leg covered in wounds. Caesar points out the need to treat it to prevent scarring, his words sounding more like an order than a concern. The maid Effany enters the room, speaking hurriedly to Caesar. Her alarmed voice betrays that something important has happened, but she doesn't have time to finish. Caesar interrupts Effany, telling her to discuss the situation later. His stern tone freezes the maid, and she stutters back, realizing he's in no mood for argument. As he leaves, Caesar orders classes to be canceled for a few days, indicating that his plans are changing in light of what is happening, and making it clear that he has the situation under control. Caesar's hand, smoking a cigar, rests over a photograph of a man. The voice condemns his inability to provide for his family, accusing him of causing something unacceptable. Caesar Bonaparte is lost in thought, analyzing recent events. Against the backdrop of a warm sunset, he realizes that some players have forgotten their place, forcing him to formulate a new plan of action. After a tense event, he notices a state of disarray. Recognizing the importance of order, Caesar decides it's necessary to restore everything to its former state, to avoid unnecessary noise and conflict. Caesar paces the opulent hall. The sun's rays illuminate his pensive figure. He is convinced his plan is already in motion. He recalls how Adele, shining like a star, attracted everyone's attention. He understands that it is now impossible to conceal what has happened. Confronting himself with confidence, he sets himself the goal of incorporating this important detail into his strategy, strengthening the Bonaparte family's position in society. Caesar remembers Adele, her wet green hair shimmering like sea foam, and her enchanting appearance capable of stunning anyone. This image left an indelible mark on his thoughts. She seemed perfect. Her fair skin, her grace, and her elegance. Caesar noticed that her beauty was capable of eclipsing the minds of those around her. And even he himself was not indifferent to her magnetism. Sitting on the steps, Caesar admits that her presence has awakened unexpected emotions within him. He realizes that even strong men like himself cannot completely protect themselves from Adele's influence. Caesar reflects that even if he sensed this, others would surely succumb to her charm. This conviction strengthens his resolve to take action, incorporating her into his calculations. Lady Fravia, agitated and stern, enters the hall. Her presence seems to add drama to the proceedings, emphasizing the significance of Caesar's upcoming decisions. Against the backdrop of a golden sunset, Caesar remains true to his path. He makes it clear that he doesn't want any unnecessary problems. His eyes reflect confidence and an understanding of his important mission. Caesar Bonaparte stood before Lady Fravia, his sharp yellow eyes boring into her as she apologized to him. Her words were measured, his silence menacing. She felt her heart sink in anticipation. He warned her that he didn't want to be disturbed again, his voice low and cold. Fravia's face twisted in fear, as she realized that any mistakes could cost her dearly. Caesar concluded the conversation by emphasizing her wisdom, and then departed, leaving Lady Fravia by the light-filled doorway. Her slender figure was barely able to hold itself together under the weight of her inner tension. Left alone, Fravia began cursing Genevieve. She believed the girl had deliberately brought herself to this state of disgrace to provoke her yet again. Fravia thought that if this continued, her reputation could be ruined. She felt cornered, pondering the dirty tricks Genevieve was using to manipulate the situation. Meanwhile, rumors were swirling in society. Women wondered if Caesar had taken a mistress. Their shock intensified when someone mentioned that this mysterious girl was barefoot. Guests whispered that Caesar might have changed his mind. They recalled how tender he had been with Genevieve when he carried her in his arms, causing them to doubt their previous opinions of him. One of the main questions remained. Who was Genevieve? Why did Caesar, so selective, allow her into his estate? These thoughts troubled everyone. Genevieve, noticing the tension, apologized, claiming she wasn't feeling well. Her slight smile concealed her inner turmoil. The guests watched her every move. As Genevieve left the gathering, she smiled and wished the sea goddess's blessing on those gathered. Her departure sparked even more speculation and discussion, leaving behind an aura of mystery. Genevieve panics, realizing something terrible has happened. She anxiously decides to inform Lucretia. Her worried gaze and hurried steps reflect her determination to avert a potential catastrophe. A letter is being written at a desk by candlelight. The author predicts a quick end to the peaceful days, hinting at approaching disaster. The image of impending danger is reinforced by the atmosphere of the night's silence. It's mentioned that guests have gathered at the estate, discussing Mr. Caesar, and rumors are beginning to spread. The scene emphasizes the significance of the events surrounding the unknown girl. Sympathy is expressed in a letter expressing a desire to meet and support the recipient. A sealed envelope is handed over, with instructions to deliver it immediately, adding a touch of drama. In another room, a girl in dark clothing, Lucretia sees a burning envelope. The flames illuminate her face, and her eyes reflect confusion and shock. The situation seems inexplicable to her. The idea that everything that's happening is a test of fate creeps into her thoughts. The disturbing shadows and fire reflect her inner conflict and doubts about the true intentions of those around her. Amidst the nighttime conversation, rumors circulate that Caesar is harboring a mysterious girl on his estate. The mystery fuels discussion, adding to the intrigue. The rumors are confirmed by witnesses' accounts of Mr. Caesar carrying an unknown girl in his arms. Meanwhile, his decisiveness begins to be viewed with suspicion by those around him. The rumor of harsh punishment for touching this girl heightens the tension. The realization that things aren't so simple evokes a mixture of fear and curiosity among the participants. The question arises, who is this girl and why does Caesar feel such feelings for her? In the dark room, her silhouette becomes a symbol of the mystery surrounding everything that's happening. Madame Fravia walks mentally indignant at the rumors denigrating the Bonaparte family. She resolves to get rid of the cause of the troubles at all costs, filled with indignation and determination. Entering the room, Fravia quickly calls out to Adele, expecting an explanation and feeling indignant. The surroundings heighten her tension, and her voice sounds angry and commanding. Adele appears, her vibrant, almost mystical beauty is striking Fravia. Notices how Adele has transformed over the past 3 days. Her appearance reflects health and nobility, which is perplexing. The lady can't believe her eyes. She thinks about how quickly Adele has changed. The sight of her flushed and glowing face is shocking, heightening Fravia's inner tension and suspicions. Looking at Adele, Fravia notes that all traces of her previous wounds and bruises have disappeared. Adele looks so flawless that she is compared to a beautiful siren capable of captivating with her appearance. Unable to contain her anger, Fravia recalls how Adele appeared before the aristocrats in an inappropriate manner. Her rage is fueled by shame over that incident, and she speaks with clear reproach. Addressing Adele, the mistress reproaches her for her behavior, believing she should have been doing her job instead of putting on a show. Her voice is commanding and contemptuous. Adele tries to apologize, but the mistress won't accept it. Her indignation seems endless, and she refuses to calm down, seeing Adele as the cause of her troubles. The tension between the two women reaches its peak. Fravia lacks respect for Adele, and the latter is forced to endure the accusations while remaining restrained and patient. Effie, apologizing for her intrusion, turns to Miss Fravia, asking her to speak. There's a sense of urgency in her voice, and she tries to appear confident despite the tension in the situation. Fravia allows Effie to speak, expressing her displeasure, but making it clear she's willing to listen. Her gaze remains cold and stern, emphasizing her distrust. Effie admits she doesn't have the same in-depth knowledge of etiquette and beauty as Miss Fravia. She lowers her eyes discreetly, demonstrating respect, but also conveying an air of undercurrent of confidence. Effie pays Adele an unexpected compliment, emphasizing her natural charm and sophistication, which aligns with the ideal of bella figura. She subtly hints that this isn't all thanks to Fravia. Fravia, slightly surprised, suggests that Effie continue Adele's training so she can learn more. Her voice is dry, but a hint of suspicion can be seen in her eyes. Fravia notes with irritation that Effie has managed to secure Adele's support, while realizing that the girl has attracted the attention of Mr. Caesar, which makes her displeased. Despite her dissatisfaction, Fravia decides to follow Effie's advice. She acknowledges the need to continue Adele's training, though her internal resistance remains. Clutching her cane, Fravia resolves not to stop until the training is complete. Her thoughts are tense, and her face betrays hidden hostility. After class, Fravia notes that Effie has been annoyingly well-behaved, leaving her with no room for criticism. This further fuels her internal irritation. Despite the outward praise, Fravia is irritated by Effie's quick learning and sensible behavior. Her restraint and calm make it difficult to find weak points for criticism, which fuels her underlying dislike. Lady Fravia, stern and proud, turns at the sound of the voice and notices Lucretia, whose presence in the house arouses intense interest. Their gazes meet, and a hint of unresolved conflict hangs in the air. Lucrezia della Valle, a refined beauty with deep violet eyes, greets Fravia with a polite smile. Her appearance is captivating, and the setting hints at an important event that has brought high society together here. Her refined demeanor underscores her status in high society. She addresses her interlocutor with a slight tilt of her head, and the rays of light highlight her refined beauty. Lucretia shares that her arrival at the house is due to the elites gathering there. Her words sound mundane, but the subtext suggests a hidden purpose for her visit, which clearly unsettles Fravia. Lady Fravia notices the bustle among the servants and concludes that an important reception is expected. She notes that the visit is likely connected with guests from a neighboring state, hinting at Lucretia's connection with them. Lucretia, remaining cool, adjusts her accessory, demonstrating her confidence. Meanwhile, it becomes clear that Caesar, her potential target, has gained influence, heightening her interest. Lucrezia, clearly experiencing a sense of nostalgia or excitement, reflects on Master Caesar. Her dreamy expression suggests that her feelings for him play a significant role in her actions. She wonders if he's okay, hinting at some rumors. Her concern is reflected in a slight blush, highlighting the emotions hidden behind her reserved exterior. Lady Fravia understands that Lucretia is aware of the rumors swirling in high society. Her intense gaze betrays her concern that Lucretia is exploiting this information for her own ends. Fravia decides to reveal part of the truth, to deprive Lucretia of her trump card. She ironically remarks that the rumors about Caesar concern only his sister, but her words seem to set a false trap. Lucretia, a beautiful girl with black hair, smiles shyly at Lady Fravia, worried she's asked too, revealing a question. The atmosphere between them grows tense, hinting at a hidden intrigue. Lady Fravia looks at Lucretia with suspicion, pondering her situation. She mentally reproaches herself for trying to paint Lucretia in an unfavorable light, as if plotting her opponent's next move. A man with a piercing gaze appears in the dark frame. He recalls Caesar's warning, adding to the drama. His face is filled with determination, hinting at the underlying threat. Lucretia is troubled by her situation and how the actions of those around her might affect her. Her thoughts are troubled. She fears making another mistake or finding herself in an unfavorable situation. Lucretia, though elegant and graceful in appearance, is well aware that to maintain her status as Caesar's bride, she must be prudent and cautious. Her determination to overcome difficulties is evident. Lady Fravia addresses Lucretia in a serious tone, reminding her of the rumors circulating around the girl. Her gaze is intense, underscoring the gravity of her words. Fravia reveals a surprising fact. Lucretia is a blood relative of the Bonaparte family. This shocks the girl, and her large violet eyes fill with surprise. Lucretia recalls how she misinterpreted the actions of Madame Caterina and Monsieur Rohan, which leaves her feeling embarrassed. She tries to overcome her discomfort by considering her next steps. She decides not to jump to conclusions, covering her face with her hand. Her gaze becomes more focused, hinting that she's ready to delve deeper into the situation. Lady Fravia reveals that Adelaide is of the Bonaparte family and is the sister of Lord Caesar. This revelation shifts the balance of power and adds new layers to the relationship between the characters. A majestic atmosphere surrounds Adele, who reflects on how deceptive her life seems. She analyzes her situation, wondering if she really is who she claims to be, and who knows the answers to these questions. Lucretia watches Adele intently, confident she can understand her if she's perceptive enough. Her gaze is filled with determination, and her thoughts are immersed in analyzing the meaning behind Adele's words and actions. Adele expresses her gratitude to Miss Fravia with a genuine smile. A rare warmth lights up her face, expressing her appreciation for the support she receives, despite her inner doubts. Lucretia appreciates her connection with Fravia, sensing the sincerity in her words. She notes how this woman always helps her see the world differently, awakening trust and respect in Lucretia. Adele reflects on the walk Effie suggested. While she doubts the appropriateness of such an act, she nevertheless understands that it could become part of a life in which she must learn to embrace the traditions of aristocracy. Effie suggests dividing the garden into zones to avoid unnecessary attention. Adele considers the idea, realizing the importance of control in such circumstances. Adele's determination grows as she takes on the responsibility of accommodating the guests. Her attentive gaze scans the surroundings, absorbing the gravity of the task to demonstrate her competence. Effie talks about a remarkable water organ located in one of the gardens. Her calm tone convinces Adele that this spot will be a fascinating stop along the way, adding charm to the overall atmosphere. Adele notes how Effie's friendliness creates a sense of mutual trust. She feels a little more confident, thanks to her warm words and support. Reflecting on the attitudes of those around her, Adele realizes that Effie genuinely feels sorry for her. This unexpected empathy evokes gratitude in Adele, strengthening her resolve to continue on her journey. On a bright terrace immersed in flowers and graceful architecture, Adele and her companion enjoy the beautiful view. She notes how light and pleasant the air around them feels, adding a special magic to the moment. Adele notices movement in the distance. Her bright amber eyes freeze in alarm as she realizes they are not alone. This feeling makes her wary and strengthens her resolve. Lucretia emerges from the shadows with an enigmatic smile. An aura of calm and blessing surrounds her as she speaks warm words, as if inviting friendship, yet there's a hidden meaning in her gaze. Adele's face reflects sudden realization. She realizes who stands before her, and her voice is firm. Lucretia is a representative of the de Laval family, and their meeting was inevitable. Adele's hand clutches her dress nervously. Excitement and determination war within her. She didn't expect to encounter Lucretia so soon, and she senses something important is about to happen. The thin fabric of her dress lifts slightly in a gust of wind, as if emphasizing the complexity of her inner struggle. Adele realizes that their meeting will prove far more complex than it first appeared. Gathering her courage, Adele speaks of the goddess's blessing. Her voice is confident, but a hidden worry flickers in her eyes, skillfully concealed behind a calm exterior. Lucretia smiles genuinely, her words filled with curiosity. She notes that she hasn't seen Adele before, either at balls or in salons, and that she herself hasn't yet made her debut in high society. Lucretia introduces herself, pronouncing her name with exquisite grace. She asks Adele what family she comes from, as if trying to establish rapport, but her curiosity seems secretly insistent. Adele replies that her name is Adelaide Bonaparte. Lucretia is surprised by this confession. She freezes her gaze, reflecting a mixture of interest and slight confusion. Lucretia sarcastically mentions the Bonaparte name to Adele, noting that high society loves to joke. Her gentle smile conceals a hint of mockery, causing Adele to become flustered. Adele, slightly nervous, confirms that she is indeed related to the Bonaparte family, but explains that she grew up apart from her brother. A hint of sadness and alienation lingers in her words. Adele's thoughts focus on her brother, her gaze becoming pensive. She feels an inner tension from the past that haunts her and is connected to that family name. Lucretia invites Adele to visit another part of the island. Her tone seems light, but a hidden intention glimmers in her eyes, unsettling Adele and making her doubt the true purpose of the invitation. Adele feels uneasy about Lucrezia's unexpected friendliness. A niggling anxiety wells up inside her, preventing her from understanding her interlocutor's true motives. Adele declines the offer, citing a desire to stay closer to her family. Her voice is resolute, but her expression betrays a hint of confusion. Lucretia maintains her enigmatic smile, but her gaze darkens. She reflects that her interlocutor is a true lady whose thoughts are difficult to decipher. Adele ponders her nervousness, unsure whether it stems from her inner fears or her wariness of Lucretia. She feels vulnerable in front of the mysterious guest. Lucretia bids Adele farewell, remaining casual and sweet. Her demeanor conveys a sense of social grace, but beneath it lurks something elusively dangerous. Adele watches Lucretia leave, pondering her last words. Something about them makes her wonder whether they were a blessing or a warning. Lucretia reports on recent events, worried about her conversation with Adele. The maid Effie notices the tension between the heroines and worries that their relationship is becoming increasingly complicated. This intrigue gradually escalates. Adele is convinced that Lucretia always acts in accordance with her master's will. However, her wariness of Lucretia's actions breeds suspicion and heightens her anxiety. In the carriage, Adele and Lucretia ponder the situation. Lucretia despairs as she ponders what to do, while Adele notices changes in her behavior that raise ever more questions. Lucrezia weeps, accusing Master Caesar of seducing women. She is overcome with emotion, unable to see a way out of the situation, causing acute concern among those around her. The maid Effie is alarmed by Lucretia's accusations and tries to uncover the truth. Adele tenses hearing Lucretia's words, which leave her confused. Adele is certain that Lucretia is not of noble birth, pointing to her hands. She believes Caesar brought Lucretia there out of revenge and is trying to pass her off as his sister. The situation escalates when Lucretia suspects the girl might seduce Caesar and try to marry him. These thoughts force her to barely hold back her tears. Effie is horrified by Lucretia's words, believing she needs to act immediately. She fears Lucretia might get her way and is trying to find a solution to prevent that. Effie insists that Lucretia must be stopped at any cost. But Lucretia is overcome with fear and doubt, unwilling to take such extreme measures. Overwhelmed by emotion, Lucretia admits she's afraid to act. Her state of mind drives Effie to despair, and the tension between them reaches a fever pitch. The carriage speeds down the road with Lucretia inside. She assures the stranger that she will help him. The light of the setting sun creates an atmosphere of tension and hope. Lucretia suddenly appears at the child's side, saving him. The boy asks her incredulously if she's serious, and she confidently confirms, smiling tenderly. Lucretia embraces the rescued boy, calling him Hazel. She is overjoyed to have him, and vows never to forget his sincere devotion, which touches her deeply. Adele, another heroine, is in charge of a vast hall decorated with flowers. She notices something unusual in the room and wonders about the tapestry's whereabouts, sparking intrigue. Adele carefully opens the door, remembering she was forbidden to disturb Caesar. Excitement permeates her every movement, creating a premonition of an important meeting. Caesar, a man with blue hair and yellow eyes, notices Adele. He sits at the table watching her with a hint of interest and a secret in his gaze. Caesar turns to Adele, inquiring about her well-being. His words and gentle smile prompt her to admit that she feels better thanks to him, creating a touching moment. Adele replies to Caesar, clarifying that she thanked him only out of politeness. A tense atmosphere develops between them, hinting at hidden emotions. Meanwhile, they are being watched from the shadows. Nearby, someone with a dagger watches the proceedings, adding an element of danger and mystery to the story. Caesar, with a playful smile, asks Adele why she has come. His charm contrasts with the growing menace, keeping the audience on edge until the very end of the scene. Caesar Bonaparte listens attentively to the request of his younger sister Adele, who wishes to attend a banquet for the first time. There's a timid confidence in her voice, and he wonders why she hasn't made such a move before. Caesar jokingly asks why Adele decided to ask this question. She replies that she's never attended such an event before, and her words sound sincere, as if she's decided to overcome her inner barriers. Listening to his sister, Caesar is struck by her courage and sincerity. He sees in her not only a pretty girl, but also a person beginning to discover a new world and adjust to an unfamiliar environment. Junior assistant Gidi tries to distract the audience by flapping papers, but his genuine surprise at Adele's beauty betrays his admiration. The situation takes on a touch of humor, diffusing the tension. Caesar formally introduces Adele as his younger sister. Her grace and polite tone astonish Gidi, who sees her in this guise for the first time, remarking that she looks like a mermaid. Gidi, remaining loyal to his boss, immediately tries to restore the work ethic. However, his curiosity and sincerity interfere with his concentration, which slightly irritates Caesar. Adele steps aside, looking at her documents. She reflects on how long she's been ignored and underestimated. Her eyes reflect her determination not to stop here. Caesar, reflecting on what happened, conceals his feelings. He realizes that his sister is growing up and ready to take on more responsibility, which fills him with a hidden pride. Adele recalls the past, the painful moments when she was forced to endure humiliation. She decides to leave it all behind, focusing on her new path. Adele's willpower and determination permeate her thoughts. She makes a crucial decision to no longer look back and not let past grievances influence her future. Caesar Bonaparte studies the documents while questioning his interlocutor Adele about her meeting with Lucrezia. His gaze is stern, and his words hint at his suspicion that Adele may have been warned because of her insolence. Adele looks confused, trying to explain that she's unsure of what's going on. However, Caesar clearly understands the situation and subtly hints that rumors spread faster in high places than in the lower strata of society. Caesar chuckles, noting the humor of the situation. His thoughts drift to how long rumors of these events will circulate, his smile slightly mocking but filled with predatory interest. He hints that after the banquet, he plans to assign Adele a brashier, a man who will escort her out. His words sound more like an order than a suggestion, emphasizing his authority and control over the situation. Giddy Caesar's assistant approaches him with a question: who will accompany Adele if the brashier will not arrive for 2 days? His face expresses slight concern, but he chooses his words carefully. Caesar indifferently remarks that nothing bad could happen to Adele at the Bonaparte estate. His confidence is reflected in a slight smile, as if he has control over even the smallest details. Suddenly, Caesar mentions the galley and orders Giddy to prepare it. His gaze is fixed on the void, reflecting on the passage of time, creating the sense that this order is connected to a larger plan. Giddy agrees, but the word curse is on his mind. He leaves remaining loyal to his master, though a hint of inner tension can be read in his appearance. At a banquet, Lady Fravia, dressed in a golden gown, discusses rumors with one of the guests about her return to the center of high society. She hopes this will help restore her family's lost position. Lady Fravia smiles slyly, contemplating how she will utilize the Bonaparte's support. A spark of hope and determination lights up in her eyes despite past setbacks. Lucretia appears in the hall, and Lady Fravia, noticing her, greets her politely, wanting to know how she spent the night. Lucretia, smiling reservedly, thanks her for her concern, leaving an enigmatic impression. Lucrezia casually notes the atmosphere of the banquet, hosted by the Bonaparte family. Fravia feels a slight tension as she tries to make conversation. The play of politeness conceals deeper intentions. Lucretia notes the elegance of the hall's decor, admiring Master Caesar's taste. Her words sound like a compliment, but there's something more to her gaze that makes Fravia wary. Lucretia abruptly changes her tone, beginning a conversation about the inappropriate elements of this beauty. Her words subtly hint at an accusation. Fravia feels cornered. Fravia loses her composure and trembling declares she has nothing more to add. Her voice breaks as she tries to maintain her dignity, but Lucretia remains adamant. Lucrezia decides to speak with Master Caesar, ostensibly to clarify the situation. She voices her doubts about Fravia's honesty, paving the way for further manipulation. Fravia is overcome with anger and fear, realizing she made a mistake by revealing unnecessary information. Her face reflects inner chaos, while Lucretia watches imperturbably. Lucretia hints that Master Caesar's trust has been violated. Her gaze becomes cold and piercing, demonstrating her complete superiority over Fravia. Lucretia explains that she and Fravia are in the same boat as they share a common enemy. She gently nudges her toward cooperation, showing that Fravia's options are limited. Lucretia enters into a confidentiality agreement with Fravia. Her triumphant smile suggests she has achieved her goal, leaving Fravia dejected and completely dependent on her. Lucretia, with a mysterious expression, offers her interlocutor a deal. Adding to the tension, her violet eyes and calm confidence make one wonder about the price of the question she just voiced. Effany informs Adele that the banquet is about to begin. The maid gently tries to persuade the girl to join, but Adele, feeling unworthy of high society, is reluctant to go, feeling embarrassed. Effie assures Adele that she looks amazing, and everyone will be amazed. Adele begins to doubt herself, but timidly asks if she can truly make such an impression, feeling a mixture of excitement and uncertainty. Adele's inner thoughts reveal her fear of standing out from others. She's convinced that any flaws she might have will attract attention and become the subject of discussion, which heightens her anxiety before the ball. Adele reflects that the process of preparing for a ball, including choosing a dress and accessories, can bring more joy than the event itself. The idea that the same outfit can't be worn twice adds weight to the importance of the moment. She admires the vibrant accessories, hats, dresses, jewelry. All of this, as if from another life, promises a never-ending celebration for those who can afford such luxury. Adele's dreams take her to strolls along Via Bella Stella, which seems to her a symbol of unattainable beauty. It's a place where even the shops themselves enchant and awe-inspiring. Adele has never been to Bella Stella. She feels the place is too magnificent to touch. The very thought of becoming part of such an exquisite atmosphere daunts her. Looking thoughtfully into the mirror, she lets Effie braid her hair into an elegant braid. She notices how her appearance is gradually becoming more sophisticated, but she still doubts whether she's worthy of it. Effie is trying to calm Adele down when there's a sudden knock at the door. They're surprised who might be there, as no one was expected at the time, creating suspense about what might happen next. Night veils the estate, but a brown-haired woman with a sullen gaze. Lady Fravia stands at the door. Her tension conveys the urgency of her visit, and her first words freeze Effie. The lady informs Effie that she requires information regarding Mr. Caesar. Her stern tone and sharp words emphasize the gravity of the situation and the need to access the records. Effie is slightly confused, but quickly agrees to accompany the mistress. We see her inner turmoil and respect for the unexpected guest. Her thoughts are interrupted as she springs into action. Meanwhile, Effie delivers a message to her lady Adele. She informs her that she must leave due to urgent circumstances. Adele looks at her with slight confusion, but allows her to leave. Effie rushes to complete the task, feeling the pressure. Her anxiety is palpable as she understands the full weight of the sudden task assigned by Lady Fravia, who awaits her impatiently. Meanwhile, Adele left. Alone tries to relax with a book in hand. She thinks about the upcoming ball and strolls through the city streets. But she finds it difficult to concentrate on reading. A disturbing noise attracts Adele's attention. She looks up warily, wondering who could be returning so early. We see her suspicion and inner tension. An unexpected voice sounds in her head, warning her not to open the door. The ominous atmosphere intensifies. Adele is gripped by fear, her consciousness clinging to reality. The fear is interrupted by the arrival of a maid. The girl apologizes for her sudden appearance, explaining that she has brought an urgent message for Adele. Her agitation underscores the urgency of the moment. The story ends on a note of intrigue. Adele is determined to find out what news they brought. Her gaze is full of determination, though the tension in the air leaves room for guesswork. Adele, wrapped in a sheet, is surprised by the sudden appearance of a maid who brings news. Caesar Bonaparte is calling her. Her face expresses bewilderment, while the maid remains stern. Hearing her brother's name, Adele pauses in thought. Her gaze is troubled, but she remains in a pensive pose, as if trying to understand why she was called at such a late hour. As she leaves, the maid reflects on the strange situation. She considers Adele too young for serious conversations with Caesar, and her modest attire only heightens the contrast with her brother's arrogant image. Adele, following the maid, tries to hide her anxiety. Her thoughts are filled with guesses, but she understands that if Caesar has summoned her, it means the matter is serious. As they climb the stairs, Adele asks a question, but the maid is in no hurry to answer, merely pointing toward the roof. A shudder runs through the girl as the meeting place seems strange to her. Adele can't shake the feeling of danger within her. She's overcome with reluctance to continue, but she understands she has no choice. Caesar doesn't tolerate refusal. The staircase stretches on forever, and with each step, Adele realizes that her brother always acted without explanation. Her fear gives way to a determination to understand what exactly he was planning. A huge door shining in the moonlight greets them on the roof. A maid briefly announces their arrival, and Adele holds her breath, preparing for what awaits her. Adele barely has time to apologize as soon as she steps inside, before she finds herself caught in the whirlwind of a strange event. Everything happens so quickly that she's overcome with fear and confusion. At a lavish banquet filled with congratulations, Caesar finds himself the center of attention. His youth and parliamentary status fascinate the public, while his political success makes him unattainable. Presented as a refined man with bright eyes and undeniable charisma, Caesar Bonaparte gains a reputation among the public as an influential and impeccable figure. His position is strengthened by his family ties to the emperor. He is described as an attractive man from a noble family, possessing not only a refined appearance, but also a business acumen, a keen mind, and a talent for politics, which makes him a unique figure in society. Caesar shows a moment of sudden interest, looking up at the ceiling, accompanied by a confident smile that hints at an unexpected yet confident plan of action. Memories harken back to childhood moments where he was seated on a throne and offered cookies. This image symbolizes his early preparation for leadership, indicating the special attention paid to his upbringing. This world belonged to him, and the one closest to him someone no one could compete with. They were surrounded by an isolated harmony full of brilliance, warmth, and mutual understanding. Lost in thought, Caesar sits in a luxurious chair, radiating calm confidence. His thoughtful gaze underscores the gravity of his situation. The man entering calls out to him, trying to distract him, but Caesar is slow to respond, maintaining his serene yet slightly irritated expression, demonstrating control of the situation. His interlocutor displays eccentricity by entering in a flamboyant manner, which slightly surprises Caesar. He assesses the situation with restraint, maintaining his aristocratic bearing. He listens with irony to the conversation about the fate that brought his interlocutor to this meeting. Their dialogue reveals the contrast between Caesar's restraint and his opponent's expressiveness. The final scene reveals the intensity of their interaction. Caesar points out the illogicality of his interlocutor's actions, which reflects his practical and insightful nature. Caesar Bonaparte reflects on how fate will sooner or later lead him to meet the one destined for him. His attention is drawn to a shawl, which he considers an important part of this journey. He vehemently denies that his feelings for Lucretia are holding him back. Caesar proves he can overcome emotional difficulties and make the right choice. Caesar's thoughts are focused on the person of Catherine Bonaparte. He notices that her presence is connected to the mysterious shawl and begins to understand the significance of what has happened. When Caesar learns where the shawl was found, the puzzle begins to come together in his mind. The scene shifts to a palace at night, creating an atmosphere of mystery and anticipation. Adele, seemingly out of place in the plot, suddenly remembers an important detail. Her face is filled with realization, and nearby stands a frightened servant who seems connected to Lucretia. The maid realizes she's caught up in a complex intrigue. Horrified, she tries to justify herself, but the truth seems to be coming to light and threatens to destroy her position. Adele calls the maid for help, promising not to blame her. However, the girl panics, thinking that Mistress Lucretia will be disappointed, and fear overwhelms her common sense. The realization that Lucretia is impossible to please shocks the maid. She doesn't know what to do, but the threat of retribution becomes increasingly real. Deep terror fills the maid's eyes as she realizes Lucretia could kill her for any mistake. She begs Adele to save her, knowing that time is running out. Adele is shocked, clutching her head in her hands, denying what's happening. Her lady couldn't have done this, pain and bewilderment reflected in her eyes. The cold moonlight in the background heightens the atmosphere of despair. A sudden change of scene. Someone is attacking swiftly. The glint in Adele's eyes gives way to terror as she is knocked down. The fight is dramatic, but she finds herself under the attacker's heel, her gaze filled with helplessness. The narrative shifts to Caesar Bonaparte, parliamentary leader and head of the Bonaparte family. He appears as the favorite of fate, and the goddess, A, leaf slowly falling in silence, symbolizes his exceptional position. Caesar lies under the stars, aware that he is alive. His breathing is heavy, and he looks around. This moment is his reassessment of his life. Everything around him seems quiet and filled with a mysterious atmosphere. Adele lies unconscious next to Caesar. He gently touches her hair, checking her condition. Satisfied that she is uninjured, his face softens, and he relaxes with relief. Caesar makes the remark with a hint of mockery, addressing Adele. Their closeness creates an intimate atmosphere, but her embarrassment is obvious. This moment underscores their complex yet warm relationship. Adele looks away, her expression reflecting confusion and fear. Caesar notices this and begins to wonder. Someone tried to kill her. His expression turns serious, sensing that the situation is far more dangerous than it appears. Adele explains that a servant girl from the Bonaparte family called her saying they were expecting her. She looks up at the building where the windows are glowing, sensing an impending threat. Caesar is surprised. He wasn't expecting anyone. His eyes tensely stare at the windows where a figure flickers. The scene intensifies when it becomes clear that the mysterious girl is watching them from above. The girl's figure turns out to be Lucrezia's maid, Caesar, focuses on the details, realizing her intentions could be dangerous. He closely monitors the situation, deciding to act. Giddy, gasping for breath, informs Caesar that the criminal was too fast and he was unable to catch him. He is genuinely worried, trying to explain his failure, but appears confused. Caesar reacts calmly to Giddy's confused explanations. Despite his assistant's emotional turmoil, he remains composed and asks an unexpected question, as if trying to assess the situation from a different perspective. At this point, attention shifts to Adele. She sits lightly dressed, looking sheepishly at Caesar. Her appearance and tense posture convey her inner struggle. Caesar notices her hesitation and sarcastically comments that a shawl can't be considered clothing. Adele apologizes, claiming she was in a hurry. This creates a slight awkwardness between them. His gaze becomes penetrating. He sarcastically asks if she'll always try to get his attention like this. This baffles Adele, but she chooses to remain silent, lost in her thoughts. Despite his harsh demeanor, Caesar is clearly perplexed by her behavior. He observes her confusion and wonders what's really on her mind, as if trying to understand her motives. Adele unexpectedly touches Caesar's shoulder, catching his attention. Their interaction becomes more personal, and at that moment, she expresses gratitude for the first time, surprising him. In response to her words, Caesar sheepishly touches his hair, trying to hide his confusion. Their dialogue takes on an unexpectedly sincere tone, revealing a softer side to their relationship. Adele notices that Caesar has been wounded. She worries about his condition, but he remains unperturbed, insisting her concern is unnecessary. This demonstrates his strength and restraint. At the last moment, he remembers accidentally stepping on her foot. This leaves him with a slight feeling of guilt, though she doesn't seem to even notice, which makes him question her character. Caesar, wounded, playfully asks if Adele will care for him. This situation creates tension and brings the characters closer together, highlighting their complex relationship filled with hidden care. Ephanie's servant runs in, worried about the well-being of Caesar and Adele. This heightens the drama of the scene, showing that those around them are worried about what is happening. The doctor examines Caesar's wounds, stating that the injuries are not serious. However, he warns him to avoid physical activity, which causes mild irritation to Caesar. Despite the doctor's advice, Caesar demonstrates stubbornness, refusing to give up his habits. His calm and independence lend a touch of irony to the scene. Adele intervenes, citing the need for extra care for Caesar. This moment underscores her persistence and concern despite his resistance. Adele reflects on the strange situation that led them to these events. Her doubts and suspicions add mystery and intrigue to the events. Ephanie bursts into the room, alarmed, underscoring the tension of the moment. She wonders what happened, unsure why everything has suddenly changed. Adele calms Ephanie and demands an explanation. This moment demonstrates Adele's leadership and her desire to control the situation. Ephanie admits she made a mistake in suspecting others, but her actions led to the escalation of the situation. This reveals her sincerity and emotionality. Caesar remains calm, noting that there was no need for doubt. His demeanor underscores his self-confidence and calm approach to difficult situations. Caesar Bonaparte, a commanding and cool man with blue hair and piercing yellow eyes, receives a report from his loyal servant Giddy. He informs him that knights have been dispatched to retrieve Fravia, strictly on his master's orders, and that there is no longer any exit from the building. Caesar, calmly inhaling his cigar, asks if the galley is ready. Giddy, containing his excitement, confirms it is. The atmosphere grows tense, and Caesar's actions are dictated by a calculating mind and cold determination. Caesar's cigar goes out under his hand as he orders Fravia to be directed to the right place. His voice is commanding and unwavering, every word reflecting his seriousness of intent and control of the situation. Caesar gives Guidi a new order: bring a girl named Lucrezia. His smile conceals something sinister, and the cold glint in his eyes only heightens the anxious anticipation of what lies ahead. Adele, a girl with long, dark green hair and matching eyes, appears nearby. Her gaze is filled with confusion when a knock suddenly echoes through the room. She tries to comprehend what's happening. Adele's thoughts drift to rumors that knocking on Caesar's door is strictly forbidden. Her nerves are tense, but she tries to remain calm as she follows the servant into the chilly evening. Caesar watches Adele appear. She looks puzzled and wary, but the imperious man merely gestures for her to take a seat next to him. His manner betrays a subtle threat. When Lucrezia della Valle enters the illuminated room, the tension reaches its peak. Caesar asks the girl to come closer. The silence becomes unbearable, reflecting the growing drama of the moment. Adele's gaze darted to Caesar's back. She realized the knock was a signal of readiness for something important. Now it was clear to her why she was here, and the purpose of this whole hidden game. Caesar, turning to Adele, orders her to sit next to him. The space around him seems to shrink, and the atmosphere is permeated with his overwhelming power. Lucretia's secret, the master's intense gaze, and his cold determination leave a sense of things to come. Lucretia pronounces the name of Caesar Bonaparte with excitement. Her blush and jewelry emphasize her excitement before meeting an influential man, and her soft voice seems to invite her to enter a new world. Caesar, sitting confidently next to Adele, smiles softly, contrasting with her tension. His strength and calm convey control, while their postures hint at a complex connection. Lucrezia, lost in her thoughts, appears confused before the meeting. Her face reflects both fear and hope, as if she's afraid to reveal her feelings to someone so powerful. Caesar, with a hint of mockery, invites Lucrezia to sit, demonstrating his superiority. She shyly lowers her gaze, her hesitation lending a tense atmosphere to the scene. Gathering her courage, Lucretia tries to smile. Her sincerity is touching, but her uncertainty still lingers in her voice. She's hopeful despite her fear of his answer. Adele watches Lucretia with distrust, her shadow and intense gaze creating an unsettling atmosphere. Lucretia sits lost in thought, as if worried about the consequences of her choice. Caesar asks Lucretia about her servant with interest, and her embarrassed response reveals how eager she is to make a good impression. However, his gaze hints at a hidden doubt. Caesar, frowning slightly, says he remembers another servant. This comment makes Lucretia wary, her thoughts filled with doubt and fear of revealing the truth. Lucretia confidently asserts that her servant has always been the same woman. Her calmness turns out to be a mask concealing her inner turmoil. Caesar acknowledges Lucretia's intelligence, hinting that her cleverness makes her attractive. His compliment evokes mixed feelings in her, from relief to embarrassment, as her cunning has been noticed. Lucrezia, embarrassed, thanks Caesar, causing her face to flush. He watches her closely, and she tries to control her nerves, but her nervous smile betrays her uncertainty. Caesar asks with a smile if she thanks him. Lucrezia, even more embarrassed, nods, averting her gaze. Adele watches their interaction, closely remaining wary. Lucretia appears confused, her thoughts jumbled, and she's lost in thought about her own insecurities. She feels a strange sense of unease, realizing that her mind is completely preoccupied with Caesar. Lucretia sits on the sofa across from Caesar and Adele. She's clearly trying to start a conversation, but her voice trembles. The atmosphere seems tense, and there's a subtle emotional dynamic between the characters. Lucrezia notices a wound on Caesar's body and anxiously inquires about his condition. He simply replies that it's nothing serious, trying to dismiss her concern. Caesar tells the story of how Adele literally fell into his arms, comparing her to a mermaid. His voice is soft and their postures radiate trust and hidden warmth. Adele thanks Caesar for his concern. Lucretia watches them and realizes that her feelings for him are growing stronger. She becomes immersed in her own experiences and conflicting emotions. Lucretia reflects on how difficult it is for her to imagine Caesar suffering. She is sincerely grateful for his generosity, but her soul is tormented by anxiety. Hearing the name Lady della Valle, Lucrezia shudders. She decides to take control of the situation and present herself in a new light, deciding to help Caesar. Caesar assures Lucrezia that he doesn't want to burden her. He tenderly says that his sister Adele will be able to take care of him. Lucrezia, despite his words, seems determined. Lucretia, with a caustic smile, reminds us that being in the same room together can lead to misunderstandings. Her tone is full of hidden threat, making the listener feel uneasy. Caesar Bonaparte tenderly points out that Adele is his sister and admits that it is difficult for him to hand her over to another. His words convey affection but hint at ulterior motives. Lucrezia, with a bitter expression, reminds Caesar that this is his last chance. Her determination conveys the gravity of the moment, heightening the drama of their conversation. Caesar, with a menacing smile, warns that if he repeats his mistake, he'll have to deal with the entire Bonaparte family. His calm is frightening, and his words emphasize his power and inflexibility. Lady Fravia, seeing something, whispers that there can be no mistake. Her panic betrays deep fear and the realization that her plans have been discovered. Giddy's black-cloaked assistant informs him that Lady Fravia must obey the Bonaparte family's orders. His cold and unyielding expression underscores the gravity of the situation. Lady Fravia is led blindfolded in a carriage. Panicked, she tries to understand where she's being taken, but no one answers. The situation escalates, and the audience senses her helplessness. Fravia cries out that she needs to explain herself to Caesar, insisting that there's a way to fix everything. However, her desperate words fall on deaf ears, adding to the tension. Water and light break through her confusion. She realizes she's arrived at port. Her thoughts are jumbled, and her fear intensifies as the outcome of the situation becomes unpredictable. At the port's threshold, she is met by a man who calmly declares he has been waiting for her for a long time. His calm and conscious superiority underscore the hopelessness of her situation. Lady Fravia, fearful and confused, begs to be taken back, claiming there has been a mistake. Her eyes are filled with despair, and her voice is broken. However, no one is in a hurry to answer her pleas. She tries to justify herself, screaming that she was forced into it under threat. Her face is contorted with emotion, her voice trembling, but this doesn't elicit understanding from those around her. She feels helpless. Her accuser Gidi asks her in a calm but mocking tone if she recognizes the man who threatened her. His certainty only deepens her confusion and despair. Gidi declares that Lady Fravia has broken the cardinal rule of their house. Silence. His gaze hardens, and his tone becomes even colder, emphasizing that he has no intention of backing down. It is explained that omerta is a strict code of silence. Breaking the oath entails punishment. Fravia feels her fear grow, realizing the inevitable consequences. She's bound with chains, as if to emphasize her helplessness. She tries to justify herself, insisting it's just a guess, but her words seem meaningless in the courtroom setting. Gidi, with a hint of mockery, asks a rhetorical question, implying the obviousness of her assumptions. Her attempts to defend herself only heighten his sarcastic satisfaction. Gidi distances himself, declaring it's none of his business, and leaving the decision to others. He offers neither sympathy nor remorse, heightening the tension. A ship designed to transport essential supplies appears at the pier. Its arrival symbolizes a new stage in history, perhaps hinting at impending exile. Gidi allows Lady Fravia to use this ship to carry out her punishment. Her future fate becomes clear. The path to redemption is now inevitable. Lady Fravia, her expression cold, reminds us of the harsh realities of their world, where the slightest mistake can cost lives. She speaks of a sea full of dangers, where every wave threatens to sweep away all that matters. Fravia warns that the chances of salvation are slim, and everything will depend on the will of the sea goddess. She points out that survival will be the only chance to earn Lord Caesar's forgiveness. Adele is devastated by the decision, sending her on a deadly mission. She pleads for a change of sentence, but her words go unanswered. The image of a ship on the horizon becomes a symbol of her inevitable fate. In despair, Adele falls to her knees, screaming for mercy. She's willing to do anything to prove her worth, begging him to let her show herself just once. Gidi's servant accompanies her to the edge of the pier. Adele is gripped by panic, her heart pounding. She asks to at least see her master before sailing, hoping for one last favor. Gidi, holding back his emotions, bids Adele farewell, wishing her luck. He warns her to be careful and to be mindful of the sea goddess's jealousy, which adds to the mystique of her mission. Adele, overcome with despair, realizes that everything that is happening is for the sake of Monsieur César and the Bonaparte family. Her cry of no resounds in the void, like an echo of her hopes shattered by reality. After the mission, Adele finds herself in a safe place, where Effanie lovingly tends to her. Effanie is relieved that Adele is unharmed, though she remains wary. Adele asks if they've found the maid who pushed her. Her questions are filled with hidden anger, but Effanie clearly avoids answering, aware of the tension in the situation. Gidi reports that the maid has been found, but her body has been mutilated beyond recognition. He notes that she was identified only by her hair color. This news plunges everyone into an ominous silence. Adele found herself in a difficult situation. Her body was covered in wounds, and her clothes were missing. Her footprints suggested she had tried to escape something terrible, leaving behind clear signs of a struggle. In the water, Adele reflects on what happened. Her gaze is intense, and her thoughts are preoccupied with what just happened. She realizes that Caesar has also been hurt, confirming her suspicions of the real danger. Effanie, standing next to Adele, expresses concern about Lucretia. The situation is complex, as proving Lucretia's guilt is impossible, but the punishment must be justified to avoid unnecessary accusations. Lucretia's appeal and popularity make it difficult for others to comment on her. Her beauty and talent have made her a favorite among the common people, and in high society, she is considered the most charming woman. Lucretia bestowed her influence upon many families. If something were to happen to her, public opinion could change dramatically. Effanie worries that disappointment in Lucretia would greatly upset those who admired her. Adele listens attentively to the maid, demonstrating her understanding of the situation. She demonstrates her readiness to cope with the circumstances, and thanks to her calm, Effanie feels a little more confident. Despite the gravity of the situation, there is some positive news. Effanie informs Adele that classes will be suspended, allowing her to temporarily relax. This gives her the opportunity to recharge. Effanie emphasizes that Adele can now rest a little and focus on healing her wounds. The water helps her calm down, and the realization of a brief respite brings relief. Adele begins to wonder about Lady Fravia's future. She expresses curiosity and a desire to understand how events will impact the other participants in the situation. Effanie reassures Adele that a new teacher will be hired, but it will take some time due to her busy schedule. Adele understands that changes in her life will soon come, but everything requires patience. Adele looks away thoughtfully, pondering how Caesar likely handled the situation involving Lady Fravia. Her gaze is full of hidden emotions, as if she's processing recent events. Standing next to Adele's bathtub, Effanie suggests the girl pick a time to try on outfits. Adele, lost in her thoughts, reacts with surprise to the maid's words, taking them unexpectedly. Effanie reminds Adele that she volunteered to look after the gentleman, confused. Adele begins to wonder how to cope with this new role, trying to hide her insecurities. Caesar lies relaxed on the bed, his posture expressing confidence and strength. His gaze is fixed on the distance, and the rays of the sun lend the moment an air of calm, as if before a storm. When Caesar notices Adele, he greets her with a smile. His tone is calm but heartfelt. Adele, holding a tray, appears determined, but doubts rage within her. Adele, trying to maintain her composure, serves tea to Caesar. She decides to pull herself together, despite her complex emotions. Her gaze drops downward, revealing an internal struggle. Adele watches Caesar, noting his broad shoulders, masculine posture, and the scars as evidence of his past. She can't help but admire him, which makes her uneasy. Caesar, catching Adele's gaze, asks with a hint of mockery how long she plans to stare at him. There's a confidence in his words that makes Adele feel vulnerable. Adele, realizing she's been caught off guard, defends herself. Caesar, with a touch of smugness, proclaims his attractiveness, but his joking tone doesn't ease the tension. Adele responds decisively to his teasing, demonstrating her willingness to defend her point of view. However, the atmosphere between them remains electric, hinting at hidden feelings. Despite his severe injuries, Caesar entrusts his care to Adele, though she's unsure of her abilities due to her lack of experience. However, he explains his decision. The others are too noisy or annoying. Reminding her of her responsibility, Caesar points out that he suffered because of her and demands that she take this seriously. Adele, suppressing her anxiety, prepares to work with her tools, determined to master the task. She's about to remove the blindfold when she notices sunlight streaming through the window, illuminating the room. The mood remains tense, but Adele tries to maintain her composure. As she removes the bandage, she feels nervous, as if she's in the presence of a dangerous predator. This feeling intensifies as she prepares the necessary medications to treat the wounds. Inspecting the damage, she notices that the bruise is much larger than expected. This fact causes her some concern, but she decides to continue her work. Running her hand along the wound, she realizes it extends from his back to the front of his body. This discovery makes the process even more intense. Adele asks Caesar to turn around because she can't reach him long enough to treat the wounds. However, he refuses, sparking a brief argument between them. She searches for a way out of the situation, asking if she can climb onto the bed for comfort. Despite her tension, she tries to remain calm. Caesar, smiling sarcastically, asks if she really needs his permission to take this step. Adele feels internal confusion, but decides to continue. A tense yet slightly playful atmosphere develops between them. Adele does her best to rise to the challenge, despite her nervousness and hidden fear of Caesar. Adele looks at Caesar with gratitude, her face expressing confusion and determination. She whispers words of apology, her hand hesitantly reaching for her dagger, hinting at the tension of the moment. Her actions lead to an unexpected confrontation. Caesar defensively intercepts her arm. Adele ends up on the bed, her expression conveying pain and confusion, but she doesn't resist. Adele's memories take her back to the moment she lost her balance and fell from the roof. Despite her injury, no one showed any interest in her, which only intensified her inner pain. However, her resilience remains unwavering. Even in the face of neglect, she continues to care for those around her. This trait amazes everyone who observes her. Caesar, observing her behavior, reflects on her selflessness. He understands that her actions often border on recklessness, but he is touched by her genuine concern for others, even for himself. He senses something more than mere impulsiveness lurking behind her actions. Caesar's thoughts about her deepen, especially when she appears vulnerable, yet determined. Adele amazes him by the way her concern for him outweighs even her own fears. She doesn't think about herself. Her concern seems sincere and genuine. At that moment, he realizes the importance of her support and kindness. Her gaze and behavior reveal a new dimension to their relationship, one filled with mutual trust and respect. Caesar wonders why she's so concerned about a man who in the past was more of a source of trouble for her. Her motives seem mysterious to him. He asks her to stop calling him brother, asserting his name as Caesar. His voice betrays a reluctance to be merely related to her, hinting at deeper feelings. Adele is distraught, her gaze reflecting fear and confusion as Caesar looms over her. She tries to understand what's happening and desperately searches for a way out of this situation, but her emotions are overwhelming. Caesar confidently seizes the initiative. His eyes sparkle with a predatory glint as he reminds Adele of the differences between men and women. The atmosphere heats up, revealing the tension between them. Caesar, without taking his eyes off Adele, increases his pressure. His words sound as if he's in complete control. He sees her confusion and uses it to his advantage. Details of Caesar's past are revealed. Numerous women tried to capture his attention. These experiences left him disillusioned with people building a wall around himself to avoid vulnerability. Images of his past depict women seeking his favor. His face remains cold, demonstrating that he has long since become accustomed to this game and is tired of it. Despite his experience, Caesar realizes he doesn't want Adele among the women who used him. It's important to him that she remains sincere and genuine. Adele finds herself at a loss, unsure how to react to Caesar's behavior. Her thoughts wander as she looks at him, trying to make sense of what's happening. Caesar's smile betrays his confidence. He compliments her on her performance, calling her an excellent actress. His words are slightly mocking, hinting that he understands her intentions perfectly well. Caesar considers her weakness to be a pretense. He understands that her goal is to deceive him and embarrass him, ruining his life. Their tense encounter ends when Caesar demands Adele stop her attempts at manipulation. A sweeping view opens up in the background, heightening the drama. Caesar leans over Adele, looking into her eyes with determination, offering to do whatever she desires. Her fragility and trust make him question the boundaries he's willing to cross. Realizing the consequences of his actions, Caesar reflects on his role and obligations. He struggles internally with temptation, realizing that this could ruin his agreements and carefully crafted plan. With a slight smile on his lips, he decides to postpone further steps. Trying not to upset Adele, Caesar maintains an outward calm, although internally he is torn by contradictions. Caesar admires Adele's beauty, recognizing her charm. He understands that giving into this could ruin all his plans and jeopardize what is so important to him. Adele suddenly steps forward, pointing the knife at his throat. Her boldness and determination surprise Caesar, who hadn't expected such a bold turn of events. He calls her crazy, barely containing his mixed emotions. Their gazes meet the tension between them, growing as if they were testing each other's mettle. Caesar asks why she needs such a dangerous object. Trying to understand her motives, Adele calmly replies that if necessary, she will not hesitate to take extreme measures to achieve her goal. Their eyes burn with the same determination as Adele reminds them of her origins and that she will not give up because she has survived conditions that have forged her spirit. Seeing her seriousness, Caesar acknowledges her danger with a slight smile. He admires her courage, but it only fuels his passion for this tense game. Adele challenging Caesar demonstrates her strength. He holds her back, but this fight is only the beginning in which they both test each other, trying to see who will win. Caesar leans over Adele, pinning her to the bed. His tense face expresses mixed emotions, excitement and challenge. He's clearly enjoying the moment, while Adele looks confused and shocked. Caesar makes a caustic remark with a slight smirk, and Adele responds with an angry glare and indignation. Her voice trembles, but she clearly expresses her disgust at his actions, not hiding her contempt. Caesar only deepens his mockery, smiling with a hint of superiority. His cheerful remark sounds mocking, and a spark of pleasure appears in his gaze at her reaction. Adele lies there confused, and Caesar studies her face with renewed interest. His thoughts deepen, but he admits that her confusion only adds to the urgency of the situation. Caesar, clutching the scissors, quietly ponders. Adele looks at him with a mixture of determination and wariness. The tension in the room grows, seeming to reach its peak soon. Adele loudly proclaims that she doesn't hate him, but her emotions betray an inner conflict. She admits to herself that she simply wants to keep her distance and not let him get closer to her heart. Caesar considers her words, noting that hatred would be simpler and more understandable. His feelings become more complex, and he briefly considers how to proceed. Sighing, Caesar decides to break the moment and rises from the bed. He asks Adele to treat the wound as if returning to reality, but a hint of unresolved conflict still glimmers in his eyes. He ponders what to do now. His thoughts turn to Adele, and her determination and strength of character force him to rethink his actions and his relationship with her. In the majestic setting of a parliamentary session, the departure of the guests from Orkney is discussed. Participants express gratitude to the Bonaparte family for their hospitality, and the atmosphere is filled with solemnity and tension. Caesar Bonaparte receives praise for a job well done. His calm and confidence underscore his modest response. He simply did his duty. The interlocutor recalls a recent ball where Caesar invited Lady Lucretia. The intrigue in his words piques the interest of those present, prompting them to consider his possible motives. Caesar explains that the meeting with Lady Lucretia was necessary for a private conversation. His enigmatic gaze only heightens the intrigue, and his interlocutors continue to speculate about the reasons. He reveals that he introduced Lucrezia to his younger sister, who had recently returned from her parents' visit. This confession causes shock and surprise among those present. The reaction of those around them is immediate. Confusion and tension are visible on their faces. Everyone wants to understand the meaning behind Caesar's words. Caesar notices the general curiosity and clarifies that his sister's identity will be revealed later at the upcoming debutante ball, which only fuels the intrigue. He adds that on the day of the debut, His sister will meet the son of the Delaval family. This hint at the significance of the event raises even more questions. One of those present tries to figure out where Caesar is going with this. The questions become increasingly insistent, and the atmosphere becomes tense. Caesar concludes his story with reflections on his impending separation from his sister. His gaze reflects sadness and determination, emphasizing the importance of the decision he has made. Caesar Bonaparte calmly convinces his interlocutor that it is better to give Lady Adele to him than to entrust her to a less worthy suitor. His words are imbued with confidence and a hidden challenge. Guidi compliments Adele, admiring her appearance. He is always struck by her beauty, eager to emphasize its perfection. Adele's face betrays a slight shyness at his enthusiasm. In his attempt to impress Guidi, crosses the line by comparing Adele to mermaids. However, his attempt ends comically. He receives a hefty blow, causing everyone to laugh. Guidi greets Caesar and Adele, a slight tension lingering. Adele greets them reservedly, clearly considering the situation, adding to the intrigue. Adele recalls the first day she encountered the cleansing force. The moment is imprinted on her mind like a looming storm she confronted head-on. Caesar, radiating calm, asks Adele to relax, assuring her he called her for another purpose. His tone and posture create an air of enigmatic confidence. Effie looks at Adele with obvious bewilderment, while Adele questions the tension in the room. The maid watches silently, sensing that something important is about to happen. Enter Agir Carrel, a tall, stately man in dress uniform. His appearance is sudden, immediately attracting attention, as if his mere presence will change the situation. Caesar announces that Agir will henceforth accompany Adele. This announcement evokes mixed feelings. Security concern, but also a touch of embarrassment. Adele is shocked to hear Carrel's name. She can't hide her surprise, her mind filled with questions. Caesar, a man with blue hair and yellow eyes, watches the assembled group thoughtfully. His gaze is arrogant, but he shows interest when he hears about Euphonius's younger brother, Aegir. Adele, a girl with dark green hair and yellow eyes, is surprised to realize that Euphonia's younger brother looks very young. She can't hide her surprise and inner admiration. Aegir, reserved and noble, accepts Adele's oath of allegiance. She promises to serve him faithfully, trying to hide the slight trepidation his presence arouses. The room is filled with excitement. Gidi, the brown-haired assistant, remarks with a smirk on Aegir's insight, while Caesar watches from a distance, reservedly enjoying the situation. Guidi ponders how Caesar learned that Adele was no longer part of the Bonaparte family. He's indignant that less than a month has passed since she moved in, and it's already time to make important decisions. Caesar, seated on his throne, smiles thoughtfully as he watches the events unfold. He notes how quickly time flies and declares that all business for the day is concluded. Adele thinks with deep emotion about her affection for her younger brother. She's willing to do anything for him, feeling a sense of responsibility and a desire to protect him. Adele's gaze settles on Caesar. She considers him a mad scoundrel, and her thoughts flit between contempt and a slight fear caused by his unpredictability. Caesar, excited by the situation, exerts dominance, towering over Adele. His actions are brazen, forcing her to balance between fear and forced submission. After a tense moment, Caesar steps back. Gazing thoughtfully into the distance, Adele notes the man's terrible character, but understands that confronting him won't be easy. Adele gazes thoughtfully out the window, her gaze dreamy. For the first time, she notices a mole under the eye of one of the men who was nearby. This unexpected discovery evokes warm feelings and a sense of pensiveness in her. Adele's thoughts are captivated by the stranger's beauty, unable to focus on anything else. Her attention is completely riveted on this moment, and she ponders why his appearance impresses her so. Suddenly, Adele hears someone calling the maid. Effie Ernst appears from the distance. His confident posture and serious expression make everyone present anticipate important news. Effie comes down to meet Ernst the butler. She's surprised by his appearance and asks what brings him here. It's clear the situation requires urgent attention and a solution. Ernst whispers an important message to Effie. Their expressions tense, heightening the atmosphere of mystery and anticipation. Effie becomes serious after hearing Ernst's message. She conveys that they will need time to prepare for the unexpected challenges. Ernst turns to Adele, and informs her that her presence is urgently required elsewhere. His tone is formal, but filled with respect for the significance of this call. Adele learns that she must immediately go to the star room. This fills her not only with surprise, but also with a sense of something mysterious and significant. She begins preparing for the event by tying ribbons onto her dress. Effany, helping her, suggests that the stylist probably knows about their arrangement, which causes further tension. Effany's final words confirm the special significance of this event. Adele gathers her thoughts, preparing to face the unknown that could change the course of her destiny. Lucretia watches her interlocutor. He warns her not to lie to a woman, and if the answer is difficult, it's better to remain silent. The girl's face reveals internal struggle and indecision. Effany ties the sash on Lucretia's dress. Finishing her preparations, Lucretia, taking a deep breath, decides to go. Her thoughts are accompanied by a prayer to the goddess for strength and good fortune. The magnificent hall glows despite the dark colors. The lighting and decor contrast, highlighting the opulence of the setting. Lucrezia admires the architecture, but her thoughts remain tense about the upcoming meeting. Eva Bonaparte, majestic and stern, sits at the table. Her presence compels Lucrezia to concentrate. The girl introduces herself, trying to hide her nervousness, but her confidence trembles slightly. Lucretia recalls that in this place, etiquette is paramount, a mandatory formality. However, the situation seems peculiar, as if the goddess herself had decided to intervene. Lucretia apologizes for the delay in introducing herself, giving her name. Eva watches her with a cold, penetrating gaze. Lucretia feels like her every word and movement is being assessed. A voiceover announces that this woman, Eve Bonaparte, has been recommended for an important post. Her power and control inspire respect, but also awe. Despite her exceptional abilities, Eva is unable to speak due to a congenital speech impediment. She uses notes to convey her thoughts. This adds an air of mystery and aloofness to her image. Eva hands over a note asking about tea. Lucretia, holding the cup, answers with a hint of embarrassment, but tries to be sincere. Her words emphasize her respect for her hostess. Despite Eva's silence, their conversation seems rich. Lucretia feels she's only just scratched the surface of the mysteries this woman conceals. Their meeting promises to be the beginning of something greater. Lucretia, sitting in silence, notices Eva Bonaparte erasing something she's written in her notebook over and over again. Her gaze is filled with hidden thoughtfulness. She's trying to understand what Eva is truly trying to express with her notes. Lucretia, after reading the notepad message, "You are a beautiful child," looks away, feeling embarrassed. She notices how the words seem to hurt her feelings, but inwardly, she doubts their sincerity. The next sentence in the notebook reads, "Caesar would have liked you." This evokes a brief but powerful emotional response in Lucretia. Her golden eyes gleam coldly as she considers this unexpected comment. Lucretia finds herself in a luxurious hall where she converses with Eva. When Eva asks if she feels uncomfortable, Lucretia demurely replies that her brother was overly protective of her. Eva slyly clarifies how exactly her brother's concern manifests itself. Lucretia, hiding her embarrassment behind a cup of tea, doesn't answer directly, limiting herself to a thoughtful look that arouses Eva's suspicions even more. Then, a man clearly connected to Lucretia appears bare-chested. His cheeky smile and remark about his younger sister make the viewer wonder about the hidden motives behind their relationship. Eva continues the provocation by asking Lucretia about her feelings for Caesar. Lucretia is clearly shocked, but quickly tries to suppress her emotions so as not to betray herself to such a skilled interlocutor. Lucretia denies all accusations of sympathy for Caesar. Her voice is firm, and she makes it clear that such thoughts have never crossed her mind, striving to maintain her dignity. Eva assures Lucrezia of her support and insists on honesty. Lucrezia confirms that she never intended to think of Caesar, romantically emphasizing her sincerity. Eva ends the conversation with a hint that Lucrezia's birth shouldn't limit her. Lucrezia responds by declaring that she has no intention of approaching her brother with such intentions, thus closing the subject with firmness and pride. Eva, her thoughts guarded, writes a letter. She admits that she had previously mistakenly believed Adele to be an imposter. Her words conceal caution, but also a desire to accept the girl despite the potential difficulties. Adele is surprised when she reads the letter. Eva reflects that love between brother and sister is unacceptable even if its motives seem less sincere. Her gaze reflects a complex inner tension. Eva seals Adele's fate by explaining that she no longer needs to address Del Valle on Caesar's behalf. This decision seems crucial for the future development of their relationship. At the end of the letter, Eva acknowledges Adele as part of the Bonaparte family. She offers Adele more than she could have expected. Eva's decision evokes conflicting emotions in the girl. Adele ponders intensely what Eva is after. Her insight makes her question whether Eva's motives are sincere or whether she is pursuing something more. Adele's thoughts reflect anxiety and wariness. Eva reveals her goal: for Caesar to be loved. She acknowledges that he has lacked care and warmth since childhood. Her words are filled with regret for the mistakes of the past. Caesar enters the room. Eva notices that Adele has caught his attention. He comes closer, adding a sense of tense intrigue to the situation. Caesar comments on the situation with a touch of irony, pointing out that Eva must have asked Adele a lot of questions. His confident smile conveys interest and hidden joy. Caesar, turning to Adele, suggests they leave. She agrees, feeling mixed emotions. A new dynamic develops between them, one of tension and trust. Adele and Caesar depart, leaving Eva lost in thought. Her parting words are reserved, but they convey hope that their next meeting will mark the beginning of new changes. Caesar and Adele discuss her earlier decision. He praised her for her strength of character, noting that she had changed for the better. Their figures disappear into the majestic interior of the hall, heightening the atmosphere of intrigue. Adele notices that their path isn't leading where she thought they should. Her expression reflects doubt, and her gesture emphasizes her attempt to ascertain her companion's true intentions. Caesar, with a slight smile, clarifies that he didn't promise a specific location. His words prompt Adele to believe he was being disingenuous, adding an element of play and mystery to their dialogue. Caesar, confident and slightly cunning, promises Adele he'll take her to a place every woman dreams of visiting. His noble demeanor and charisma strengthen Adele's trust, revealing the romantic undertones of their relationship. Adele finds herself in a luxurious carriage, softly illuminated. Her surprise and delight at the moment are evident on her face, reflecting how far removed she had been from such luxury. The carriage, drawn by 4 magnificent horses, becomes a symbol of grandeur and status. The scene is framed by ornaments, creating the impression that Adele has found herself in a fairy tale full of splendor and grandeur. The final shot opens onto the city of Santanare, known for its intricate narrow streets. This evening landscape, with its golden glow, adds a sense of finality and anticipation to the moment. A luxurious carriage belonging to the Bonaparte family races through the city streets. The atmosphere around seems tense, as if the entire city is holding its breath before something momentous. The carriage pulls into a street renowned for its beauty and elegance. Adele, looking out the window, notices she's never been here before. The place fills her with delight and a slight thrill. Adele feels like she's part of something incredible, something she could only dream of before. Now she's stepping into a world previously alien to her, and it fills her with both pride and trepidation. Looking down at herself, she reflects on her new position. Nearby is César Bonaparte, the head of the family, whose presence makes the moment especially significant. She senses his power and influence. Caesar notices that Adele looks pleased, but isn't smiling. He remarks this with a hint of sarcasm, which makes her reflect on her behavior and feelings. Adele tries to understand the meaning of his words. Caesar seems calm, but his gaze is penetrating. He hints that he understands her mood, even if she herself doesn't fully realize it. The girl admits to feeling lost in her new surroundings. She's never been to a place like this before, but she assures herself she'll soon get used to it and feel more confident. Caesar smiles, asking why Adele hides her true emotions. His words are mocking, but also something more: a desire to see the real her. He assures her that she has nothing to be ashamed of in her smile. A beautiful face only benefits from sincerity, and this makes Adele reflect on how she perceives herself in this new world. However, Caesar also implies that her tension is due to his presence. His charisma and audacity heighten the tension between them, making the moment unforgettable. Adele, looking away, tensely expresses confusion. She notices that she's experiencing strange feelings about what's happening, which makes her reflect on her emotions. Caesar asks the question with a hint of mockery, eliciting an unexpected reaction from Adele. Her eyes widen in surprise, and she tries to hide her confusion. Adele reflects on his behavior, which has become especially strange lately. She reminds herself of her role, assuring herself that she is his little sister and should not be distracted. She changes her expression to a confident smile, pretending to be deeply interested in all of this. This maneuver allows her to maintain her composure in front of Caesar. Caesar, observing her, concludes that her life must have been difficult. His gaze pierces her, making Adele wonder how close he came to the truth. Adele's internal monologue reveals her irritation with Caesar's behavior. She wonders if he enjoys toying with her emotions, as if deliberately provoking her. They arrive at the scene. Adele notices it first, but still feels tense. Her thoughts are preoccupied with recent events and Caesar's words. Caesar inquires about her condition, making Adele feel even more uneasy. She tries to hide her true emotions, though her anxiety is evident. Adele explains that she decided to go first because doctors advised Caesar to avoid unnecessary exertion. Her caring demeanor contrasts with her inner turmoil. Caesar, reminding her of Eva's notes, concludes that Adele often represses her feelings. His words offend her, increasing the tension between them. Caesar Bonaparte, a man with blue hair, resolutely opens the door, pondering his purpose. His thoughts indicate an inner admiration for someone he deems worthy of his attention. The golden morning sun illuminates the city streets, where merchants have spotted the rising of the blue star. The approach of daylight underscores the importance of the moment, heightening the anxiety surrounding the preparation of stores. The atmosphere becomes tense as workers hurriedly clean the premises, trying to restore order. They fear the embarrassment that might arise from Caesar's visit and strive to perform at their best. The jewelry store employees greet Caesar and Adele, the girl with dark green hair. Their nervousness is noticeable, as they know how important it is to satisfy their distinguished guests. Caesar assesses the situation with a slight smile, expressing gratitude. He exudes confidence and calm, despite the hustle and bustle around him, underscoring his authority. Adele announces her intention to choose jewelry for her little sister. Her calm tone and refined appearance create the impression of a refined and determined nature. The jewelry on display seems too ordinary. Caesar and Adele clearly expect more. Their intent gaze at the display cases makes the workers even more restless. Caesar, with characteristic sophistication, asks to see jewelry worthy of the Bonaparte family. His words motivate the workers to act decisively, striving to exceed expectations. A ring with a high-grade diamond appears on display. The salesperson emphasizes the uniqueness of the piece, assuring that it won't be found anywhere else, heightening the atmosphere of luxury. Next, a necklace of blood-red rubies crafted by a respected family of artisans is presented. The piece is stunning, emphasizing the guest's status and the mastery of the jewelers. A rare 10-carat emerald pendant, adorned with an exquisite frame, is displayed in a jewelry store window. Its velvety texture immediately catches the eye, drawing admiration from customers. Shop owner Lisa presents the collection, emphasizing its sophistication and high standards. She proudly talks about the exclusivity of the jewelry on display, aiming to impress. Liza reflects on customer reactions to her products, anxiously awaiting their comments. She is confident that her products are the pride of her store and will satisfy even the most discerning customers. Adele carefully examines the jewelry, praising the quality of the pieces. Her noble demeanor and calm confidence make Lisa feel uneasy, as the client clearly knows her way around jewelry. Caesar notes that his sister probably isn't too impressed. He mentions that her collection is already overflowing with such jewelry, emphasizing Adele's fastidiousness in choosing. Adele, appreciating the beauty of the pieces, finds it difficult to choose just one. Caesar suggests an unusual solution: buy everything at once, which leaves Lisa both perplexed and delighted. Caesar notes that he appreciates Lisa's recommendations and asks to see more jewelry that would suit his sister Adele. Meanwhile, calmly continues to examine the pieces on display. Lisa's excitement at the prospect of a major deal overwhelms her. She can already see gold coins in front of her, anticipating successful sales and satisfied clients. Trying to figure out what's going on, Lisa learns that Caesar has a sister. She quickly leaves to buy new jewelry, trying to please her important clients. Adele exudes nobility and confidence. Lisa, observing her, realizes she's a representative of high society whose aura of elegance leaves no doubt. The girl, looking with interest at the jewelry in the box, shows no admiration whatsoever. Even the luxurious jewelry capable of captivating any woman's heart fails to impress her. She ponders what might suit this mysterious lady, running through various options in her mind. It's clear her meticulous attention is focused on finding something special. The decision comes when she spots a pair of earrings, elegant but less valuable than the rest of her jewelry. She decides these earrings are the perfect choice for Mrs. Adele. The blue-haired man standing next to her approves of her choice. His confident gaze and slight smile indicate his agreement with her decision. Adele looks closely at the earrings being offered to her. A hint of hesitation can be seen on her face, as if she's unsure whether they suit her. She delicately explains that she doesn't have pierced ears. Her gestures and words suggest an upbringing rooted in conservative family views. The saleswoman apologizes for the misunderstanding, explaining that she simply didn't take this into account. The man accepts the situation with a friendly smile and offers to try on the earrings anyway. The earrings are held against Adele's ears so she can see how they will look. She looks refined and sophisticated. The earrings seem to come alive on her. The man assessing her look says they suit her perfectly. His gaze betrays genuine admiration, and his confident tone only confirms it. Adele, a little shy, but clearly touched by the compliment, responds with a slight smile. The saleswoman also sighs with relief, happy that her choice was a good one. Caesar Bonaparte caught Adele's attention with his enigmatic appearance. She felt a slight shyness, which manifested itself in a blush on her face, as she sensed the unusual aura emanating from him. Adele and Caesar were choosing jewelry. Caesar confidently indicated that they would take the items they liked, which delighted Adele. She thanked him, recognizing Caesar's generosity. Caesar noticed that Adele's sister couldn't find anything to her liking. His friendly tone slightly upset Adele, who felt a slight sense of pressure from his attentiveness. Adele finally noticed the brooch that had caught her eye. Caesar, catching her eye, pointed to the piece with a slight smile, clarifying that it was truly exquisite. However, Caesar remarked that the brooch was too simple. His sincerity hurt Adele, but she quickly recovered, continuing to evaluate the jewelry in search of a suitable gift. Adele considered the simplicity of the brooch, noting its refined design. Her gaze remained focused, and she tried to maintain confidence despite her doubts. Caesar turned the brooch over in his hands, holding it up in the light. Suddenly, the jewelry seemed to sparkle, highlighting the color of his eyes, which delighted Adele. Adele remarked on how perfectly the brooch looked with Caesar. Her words betrayed her admiration, and she sincerely shared how much she loved the find. Watching Adele and Caesar interact, the saleswoman felt a connection. She reflected on how natural they looked together, despite their possible lack of blood relationship. Adele, watching Caesar, realized she couldn't have remained indifferent if she'd been the salesman. Her heart filled with a slight envy of their closeness and understanding. Caesar, confidently adjusting his collar, exuded charisma, as he noted that many considered women to be treacherous. His tone was sarcastic, but with a hint of hidden curiosity that captivated everyone's attentions. Having entrusted his assistant Lisa with choosing a gemstone for the jewelry, Caesar exuded confidence. Lisa, genuinely inspired by the task, enthusiastically promised to do everything to the highest standard, relishing the opportunity to prove herself. Caesar, with a slight grin, suggested Adele visit the next store. His relaxed manner contrasted with her intent gaze, as if she were trying to decipher his motives. Caesar asked curiously if Adele liked jewelry, to which she replied thoughtfully that it was rare to find a woman indifferent to such gifts. Her voice was reserved, but her gaze betrayed a hidden sadness. Noticing that Adele didn't look particularly happy, Caesar seemed to be trying to understand what had upset her about the day's events. His attention to detail emphasized the depth of their interaction. Adele quietly reminded him that she had no intention of taking all these gifts with her. Her words struck a chord with Caesar, making him pause. He, while remaining outwardly calm, was clearly considering her position. Caesar silently acknowledged Adele's rightness. Her words seemed to reveal a new dimension to the situation. His gaze grew thoughtful, as if he were pondering something important. Caesar regarded the purchases made on this day as more of a formality. They served merely to advance the reputation of Caesar's little sister, rather than to bring true joy. Adele's thoughts revolved around the symbolism of gifts. She believed that such gestures usually lead to closer ties between a man and a woman, though her tone hinted at irony. Slightly embarrassed, Adele breathed out a short, "Okay," meeting her own reflection in her gaze. Caesar, observing her reaction, experienced mixed feelings, remaining a mystery even to himself. Caesar, bothered by Adele's silence, asks what's wrong. She looks away reluctantly, admitting she noticed an interesting shop. His intense gaze slides to her, noticing a sparkle in her eyes. In the carriage, Adele quietly pronounces the name of the store. Secretum. She recalls how long ago she'd seen it, only from afar, observing the windows with a touch of sadness and curiosity. Caesar reacts thoughtfully, offering only a brief remark. Then he remarks that this is a store for simple things. His words sound casual, but his gaze remains stern and attentive. Adele lowers her eyes, remembering that the Flemish lace she bought today is far more expensive than anything in that store. His remark makes her reflect on the value of the simple and the expensive. A moment of silence gives way to gratitude. Adele whispers a soft, "I see," reminding herself how attentive Caesar is, even when he seems stern. She feels a warm gratitude toward her brother once again. Effie, meeting Adele at the mansion, admires her new clothes, noting that Caesar spent a lot of money on her outfits. Despite this, the maid is happy to help her choose suitable items. Effie smiles and compliments Adele on the dress, which perfectly accentuates her figure. Adele notes that Caesar chose it, though the outfit seems a bit daring. These words evoke a slight embarrassment. In the shoe room, Effie offers Adele a pair of sandals. Adele's attention is drawn to a pair of bright yellow shoes glittering on the shelf. She quietly points to them. Adele is captivated by yellow shoes adorned with sweet bows. Their delicate hue reminds her of spring flowers, and she can almost hear the warmth that accompanies her choice. Egir, the personal assistant, appears, offering to help her put on her shoes. His gesture is gallant and elegant, leaving the impression that everyone in the house is trying to surround Adele with care and attention. Adele carefully tries on the shoes Egir hands her. She appreciates their softness and comfort, but briefly recalls the gift from Lady Fravia. These shoes don't evoke the same awe in her, leaving her with a slight sense of disappointment. Adele notices Egir's tension, but he looks away, assuring her everything is fine. Her concern grows, but she decides not to press the issue, trying to understand what lies behind his silence. Effie brings news of the imminent resumption of classes in Arya's room. Adele listens with genuine interest, wondering what the future holds and how her life within the palace walls will change. Egir offers to show Adele around the palace, knowing she's still unfamiliar with it. She gratefully agrees, feeling a little awkward about having to accept someone's help in a new environment. Adele wonders about her new teacher, suspecting it will impact her future success. She feels a slight unease, but tries to keep her composure, maintaining calm and dignity. Caesar Bonaparte, with blue hair and bright yellow eyes, enters the hall. His aura evokes awe in Adele. She greets him, blessing the goddess, but feels her inner world fill with anxious anticipation. Caesar announces that he will be teaching her dance practice for the next few days. Adele realizes that this is not just a teacher, but a person whose words and actions can significantly change her destiny. Adele agrees, trying to hide her emotions. Caesar notices her efforts with a slight smile, and a fine line of trust and hidden tension develops between them. He extends his hand, beckoning her closer. Adele, overcoming her hesitation, takes a step forward. Her gaze hardens, reflecting her readiness to follow her new teacher's instructions. They start talking about dancing, and Adele wonders why Caesar is so interested in her progress. She senses there's more to it than just mentoring. Adele expresses her guilt over what happened. Her words are full of regret, but Caesar, remaining calm, shows that it's a minor matter for him and is trying to defuse the situation. Caesar confidently reassures Adele, explaining that there's no need to worry. He deftly deflects the conversation, hinting that he's to blame. A trusting tone develops between them. Adele, looking at Caesar, feels both irritation and surprise. Her abrupt retort hints at his lack of basic standards of behavior, underscoring her pride and straightforwardness. Caesar reacts with a slight grin, demonstrating his attitude toward strict rules. His words about freedom between men and women indicate his confidence and defiance of conservative norms. They discuss the spot upstairs. Caesar tells Adele about his favorite spot in the hall, where he can see the sunrise, emphasizing his desire for privacy and beauty. His attention shifts to the record player, which he starts playing. This detail underscores his romantic nature and desire to create the perfect atmosphere. Caesar offers Adele a dance. His gesture and gaze are filled with sincerity and a slight playfulness, making her feel both embarrassed and intrigued. As they dance, he holds her hand, commenting on their closeness. Adele, slightly confused, tries to maintain control despite the magic of the moment. Adele is overcome with emotion, feeling their dance become increasingly free and sincere. This reveals her hidden feelings and insecurities. In closing, Caesar reminds her that the dance isn't over yet. His confidence contrasts with her caution, highlighting their different approaches to life, but shared sincerity. Caesar playfully provokes Adele, and the realization overwhelms her with alarm. She feels her strength draining, and she can barely stand. However, his confidence makes it clear. This is all part of his game. Caesar abruptly changes his tone, joining Adele in the dance. She's shocked but hides her emotions, rejecting his lightness. His intense gaze suggests he's expecting a reaction. Caesar's gaze softens, and he asks if Adele knows the true meaning of the dance. She is stunned by his words, but her mind grasps the hidden meaning. Caesar leads Adele to a majestic staircase. Their figures are bathed in a halo of light, and he tells her to follow his pace. His words are full of hidden meaning. The dance takes on a new level. Their mutual movement becomes one, and the smiles on their faces reflect harmony. At this moment, both feel a connection that transcends play. Adele's thoughts are confused. She notices something hidden, deliberately concealed in his gaze. This moment triggers a wave of doubt and anxiety within her. Caesar emphasizes that dancing with him is unique, and that no man can compare. Adele feels his confidence creeping into her consciousness, despite her attempts to distance herself. Adele's lips whispered an acknowledgement of the truth of his words. Her resistance weakened, and her breathing grew heavier. Caesar seemed pleased with her reaction, but he didn't stop. Caesar says her refusal to go to the next event could be a problem. His words sound playful, but it's clear they don't allow for refusal. Adele looks him straight in the eye and firmly declares that nothing of the sort will happen. Her gaze is resolute, but the internal struggle remains visible. Adele, nervous, expresses uncertainty about the dance, but Caesar reassures her, saying that one should always be prepared for the unexpected. Adele tries to reassure her brother that she will be fine. Caesar embraces Adele to begin teaching her the waltz. His confident movement shows he's ready to lead her. The atmosphere is tense, but he encourages her, urging her to focus. Adele struggles to follow Caesar's movements. Despite her nervousness, she feels his support. He holds her tightly, guiding her movements to the right rhythm. Lucretia and Eva Bonaparte enter the hall. Their presence commands respect from those around them. Lucretia watches Adele closely, ready to pass judgment. Adele learns that Lucrezia and Eva have proposed a meeting. The news takes her by surprise, as she's still unsure of her abilities, but she realizes she'll have to prove herself to such an important audience. Caesar notices Adele's confusion and asks her to focus on him, not on others. His words help her return to the rhythm of the dance, overcoming her fear. Despite her brother's support, Adele still falls short of perfection. Lucretia discusses this with Eva, pointing out the girl's lack of grace and doubting her ability to adapt. Eva agrees with Lucretia, noting that the Bonaparte banquet requires a high level of preparation. The pressure on Adele increases as their expectations prove too high. Lucretia criticizes Adele, noting that natural gifts don't always help in such situations. She hopes the girl will cope, but her doubts are becoming obvious. Adele stumbles her steps, losing their rhythm. However, Caesar supports her, forcing her to focus and continue. His confidence gives her a chance to prove that she can handle the pressure. Eve Bonaparte sternly orders Adele to follow her. She suddenly notices that the girls have arrived uninvited, expressing her disapproval. The situation escalates, but the tension is concealed behind outward politeness. Caesar asks Lucretia how she is feeling. His words are gentle, but they clearly embarrass her. Lucretia answers timidly, trying to maintain her dignity, but her heart trembles. Gathering her courage, Lucretia asks Caesar to address her simply by her first name, without unnecessary formality. Her words make him pause, but the smile on his face hints at a hidden interest. Caesar, with a slight grin, asks what brought Adele and Lucretia to such an unusual place. His gaze penetrates deeply, but remains deceptively friendly, concealing his true intentions. Eva claims she was seeking help with Adele's debut, adding that Lucrezia took the initiative. This unexpected turn of events provokes a new surge of emotion in Caesar. Caesar mockingly remarks that he should have told his grandmother long ago that he prefers action to words. Eva ignores his remark, maintaining her dignity, but her gaze is full of disapproval. Adele is shocked that even in front of his grandmother, Caesar behaves so provocatively. Eva responds by proposing marriage, which he categorically rejects with a confident grin. Eva admires Lucretia's dancing skills and asks her to dance. Lucretia feels everyone's attention focused on her, but her eyes sparkle with determination. Lucretia gracefully accepts the offer, politely thanking Eva for her kindness. Her confidence grows, but she still feels a sense of tension from the intense attention. Lucretia's gaze turns serious as she assures Adele of her willingness to help her words sound sincere, but their undertone hints at a hidden intrigue. Lucretia introduces herself with a beaming smile, radiating sophistication. Her soft voice and graceful demeanor create a first impression, filling the atmosphere with mystery. She clearly captivates with her effortless grace. Adele addresses Caesar, expressing gratitude for his support. She mentions Eva's request, indicating that Caesar will not refuse his help. The light and brightness of the surroundings emphasize the warmth of their interaction. Caesar invites Lucretia to follow him, her confusion reflected in her surprised expression. Caesar's confidence underscores his charisma, and a gentle gesture adds a touch of tenderness to the moment. Eva's gaze cuts to the core, asking Adele about her relationship with Caesar. Adele answers guardedly, calling their bond purely familial, but the expression on her face belies complex feelings. Adele is asked why Caesar cares so much about her. Silence and Adele's inner doubt fill the scene. Her downward gaze emphasizes the depth of her reflection. Adele is left alone with her thoughts. She quietly says that she is Caesar's younger sister. Her figure in a shimmering blue dress looks lonely against the shining light. Lucretia and Caesar dance, their movements graceful. The guests watching them hint at their possible future, mentioning marriage. Lucretia is embarrassed, but grateful for the opportunity to be with him. Caesar entrusts Adele with the care of Lucretia, emphasizing that she is his guest. His voice is stern but respectful. Eva, with a slight smile, emphasizes the importance of the moment, trusting her granddaughter. Eva leaves the hall, leaving Lucretia in the care of her grandson. Her confidence in Caesar is evident in every gesture. Against the backdrop of beautiful scenery, their brief dialogue underscores the importance of family ties. Caesar chides Lucretia for her frequent visits, playfully hinting at her interest in him. Lucretia tries to justify herself, but their play of shadows and light makes the scene intriguing and romantic. Lucretia, worried about Caesar, admitted she couldn't stand by and turn a blind eye to his actions. She looked at him with genuine concern, awaiting his reaction, trying to convey her concern. Caesar, in response to her anxiety, asked her to stop worrying Lucretia, however tried to explain that she couldn't ignore his behavior and was eager to help him find the right path. He asked with slight irritation what was wrong with his dating life. Lucretia hoped that one day he would understand her feelings and her attempts to help him. Lucretia, pained, declared that she couldn't watch him fall deeper into the abyss. Despite her fear, she came to him hoping he would understand how important it was for her to be there. She finally revealed her feelings to him, declaring her love. Her eyes glistened with tears, but she held herself confidently, expressing her sincere affection for Caesar. Lucretia passionately assured him that she loved him more than anything in the world and would love him forever. Her words sounded like a vow filled with despair and hope. Even if he doesn't understand her now, Lucretia is determined to wait as long as it takes. Her love is strong, and she's ready to overcome any obstacle for him. She's convinced she's the only person who truly loves Caesar. It pains her to think he might not realize it, but she doesn't back down. Caesar coldly told her not to speak of love, unless she was willing to give something in return. His words were harsh, but his gaze revealed a complex range of emotions. Caesar ended the conversation by asking Adele to escort Lucretia to her room. Lucretia, reeling from the emotional blow, meekly left, leaving Caesar to ponder. Adele, upon learning of Lucretia's desire to get closer, expresses surprise and alarm. Her pensive expression reflects an internal conflict as she struggles to find a compromise between her feelings and her duties. Caesar intervenes decisively, defending Lucretia's right to freedom of action. His confidence and penetrating gaze command respect, and subtle notes of tension heighten the drama of the scene. Caesar addresses his brother, reminding him of the importance of harmony. The atmosphere grows tense, but a subtle hint of reconciliation is added. Their words heighten the significance of the moment. Adele, seemingly overcoming her hesitation, makes an important statement. She looks at Lucretia with renewed emotion, emphasizing the importance of their interaction. A note of sincerity and hope lingers in her voice. Lucretia, observing the scene, notices a detail. Adele is visibly tense. However, her smile conceals deep feelings, making the situation even more intriguing. Caesar, with a slight ironic smile, hints that Adele is busy watching Lucretia. His wit adds a lightness to the scene, balancing the dramatic atmosphere. Lucretia, looking closely at the details, realizes that her actions have not gone unnoticed. This adds a new level of emotional depth to their interaction. Adele shows determination by asking Caesar's brother to escort Lucretia. Her confidence and desire to mend their relationship make the scene touching and meaningful. Caesar notes the significance of Adele's behavioral changes. Her first-ever initiative becomes a key moment, demonstrating her sincerity and desire to get closer to Lucretia. Caesar Bonaparte relaxed in the grip of his wineglass addresses Adele coldly, assuring her that she may do as she sees fit. She thanks him with a hint of sadness in her eyes, recognizing the lack of personal interest behind his words. Their gazes meet, but the emotional distance between them only deepens. Lucretia, sitting at the table, is surprised to see Caesar rise, clearly about to leave the room. She anxiously tries to stop him, reminding him of propriety in the early hour. However, Caesar, ignoring her words, moves on, leaving her bewildered. As Caesar leaves the hall, he makes a parting remark, laced with cold sarcasm, declaring that he hopes never to see Lucretia again. The girl remains alone, her head bowed, realizing that her efforts have failed to soften his cruelty. The tension in the air remains palpable. The next moment, Caesar gives a clear order to his trusted assistant, Gidi. He demands that he guard Adele and maintain his distance from her. Gidi politely agrees, but his gaze reflects some unease. He's used to obeying, but he understands the gravity of the situation. As he climbs up, Caesar encounters another aide, who informs him of a difficulty with the materials for the ship. Galleon irritation briefly crosses his features, but he maintains his confidence and composure, assuring him that the Queen has already given the necessary instructions. During a discussion with his assistant, Caesar demonstrates his insight, instructing him to closely monitor the door schedule and determine why one merchant was denied permission to trade. His decisions are precise and ruthless, reflecting a habit of leaving no weakness unnoticed. While strolling in the garden, Lucretia and Adele engage in a casual conversation. Lucretia, smiling graciously, asks if she will be able to see Adele again. Adele responds with restrained politeness, but cautiously adds that such matters are best discussed with her brother, hinting at Caesar's influence. Adele admits that her brother wields far more influence in decision-making than she does Lucretia. Smiling agrees, noting that the head of her family shares this opinion. This seemingly friendly conversation conceals a tense political subtext. Their conversation continues in the same vein. Lucretia attempts to demonstrate her diplomatic skills by complimenting the lady who approved of their meeting. Adele, however, remains cautious, trying not to reveal her true feelings in order to maintain neutrality. Despite the warm tone of their conversation, both girls understand that their dialogue is just part of a complex game, where every move is carefully planned. Adele continues to keep her distance, while Lucretia remains polite, but persistently strives to strengthen the bond, hoping it will bring her benefits. Adele, standing on the balcony, speaks with Caesar. She expresses a desire to continue their relationship, but doubts whether she is doing the right thing. She is tormented by questions about her friendship with Lucretia. In response, Caesar, looking thoughtfully into the distance, asks if she considers friendship between them impossible. Lucrezia, dressed in an elegant blue dress, calmly replies that friendship between them is possible. Her confident tone and gentle gaze hint at the sincerity of her words. However, a hidden anxiety can be seen in her eyes, as if she's preparing for something more. Lucretia notes that Adele values her brother Caesar's opinion more than friendship itself. Her words ring with reproach, but she maintains her composure. Lucretia continues to stare at Adele with bewilderment, trying to discern her true intentions. Adele is embarrassed, her gaze growing anxious. She tries to justify herself, saying she only wants to be friends. She feels hurt by Lucretia's words. Tension arises between them, threatening to escalate into conflict. Lucretia admits she still feels uneasy, which is why she turned to Caesar for help. There's a hint of embarrassment in her voice. Adele listens attentively, but her gaze grows increasingly cold, as if she's beginning to suspect something important. Lucrezia recalls once confessing her love to Caesar. She asks rhetorically whether it wouldn't be better to try to get closer to him directly, rather than using Adele. Her words sound like a sharp reproach, causing Adele to noticeably become agitated. Caesar, standing nearby with Giddy, wryly remarks that even if he disappears, it won't bring Lucretia closer to Adele. His confident smile and cynical tone make Giddy look away in embarrassment. Caesar's words sound like a challenge full of hidden meaning. Lucrezia bluntly declares that she's being treated like a fool. She accuses Adele of manipulating her for Caesar's benefit. Her anger escalates into an argument, with each trying to defend their positions, but emotions prevailing. Adele remains unperturbed. She says she doesn't care what Lucretia thinks of her. Her presence depends solely on Caesar's will. Her words sound like a warning, but her gaze remains cold, as if she's prepared for any attack. Lucretia is furious, accusing Adele of slander. Her eyes blaze with anger, her voice trembling with emotion. Adele, however, maintains a cold expression, her yellow eyes glaring at Lucretia with disdain. Their argument reaches a crescendo, leaving a sense of impending climax. Caesar, sitting in a chair and smoking a cigar, reflects on his place in the relationships of those around him. His gaze is pierced by a cold confidence. He notes that he has no intention of interfering in the destinies of others. Tension hangs in the air, and his calm seems merely a mask concealing an inner conflict. The atmosphere grows tense as he reflects on how his relationship with Adele is nothing more than a familial one. The scene fades to a dramatic sunset, seeming to highlight the gap between his words and the deep emotions he tries to hide. Adele, standing before Lucretia, remarks how her brother delayed time, giving her the opportunity to escape trouble. Lucretia merely smiles at this remark, creating the sense of a hidden game, where each character plays by their own rules. The green-haired girl shares her thoughts. She sees herself as nothing more than a younger sister, suddenly thrust into Caesar's life. She feels unwanted, and her words sound like a quiet attempt to justify her place in the family. However, Adele admits that she will soon be married and watches her brother with respect. Caesar, a majestic silhouette against the setting sun, remains at the center of her thoughts. Caesar, looking thoughtfully at Adele, expresses hope that she will find her way. His words sound like parting words, but they also convey a sense of detachment, as if he has already come to terms with the fact that their paths are diverging. The sunset in the background symbolizes the beginning of a new chapter where each character must decide their own destiny. Caesar smokes, watching the evening's fleeting minutes lost in his thoughts. Night brings a new twist in the carriage. Adele asks Lucretia how close she and Caesar will now be. The words penetrate her heart, as if searching for an answer to a long-tormented question. Lucretia responds, hinting that such actions could simply be an attempt to calm Adele. But there's something else in her eyes, something that gives Adele the strange feeling that deep feelings lurk behind her words. Adele focuses on Lucretia's gaze. She understands that eyes speak far more than words. Their silence reflects the story of their lives, the secrets, feelings, and decisions that will shape their future. Lucretia, a refined girl with black hair and violet eyes, radiated a captivating aura that was impossible to look away from. Her presence was mesmerizing, as if piercing those around her. She was aware of the power of her influence, noting how her presence evoked awe and excitement, boosting her self-confidence. Reflecting on the consequences of her actions, Lucretia considered revealing her true identity. She understood that such a step could affect her relationship with Caesar, causing him to harbor mixed feelings. Lucretia hesitated to take the risk, as it could ruin her plans. Lucretia wondered how Caesar saw her. Perhaps he considered her capricious and irritating, but she believed she could earn his favor with time. Convincing herself that the path to his trust required patience, she promised to act gently but confidently. Her heart was filled with pain, but Lucretia knew that only persistence would bring her closer to Caesar. She hoped Lady Adelaide's support would strengthen their bond, and she wondered how important their union might be for the future. Lucretia dreamed of seeing Caesar more often. Her face lit up with hope and quiet delight at the thought of her presence in his life, becoming more significant. She longed to be closer to him, feeling the sweet torment of her feelings. Her devotion and plans increasingly took the form of a firm resolve. Lucretia understood that the success of her plan required caution, for Caesar had to believe in their closeness. Inner doubts warred with her confidence, but she did not give up. A servant aware of Lucretia's plans expressed doubts due to her lack of noble birth. She was unsure whether a woman like Lucretia could be a worthy companion for Caesar. These words hurt Lucretia, but did not break her spirit. Lucrezia, aware of the implicit criticism, remained confident. She knew she looked like a woman of blue blood, and she believed problems would only arise if someone tried to expose her origins. She relied on her charisma. For Lucretia, it was more important to find a way to get closer to Caesar without direct interference. She believed their relationship would strengthen if she acted wisely. This question occupied her thoughts as she considered how best to express herself. Lucretia smiled, reassuring herself that she could overcome any difficulties. She left any problems to others, focusing on her main goal. Her determination shone brightly like the flowers surrounding her. Lucretia felt ready for the challenges ahead. Lucretia stared tensely at Anessa, who, embarrassed and confused, tried to hide her fear. Lucretia's haughty gaze seemed to pierce the girl. She warned that Adelia's origins must remain a secret. Her voice was deceptively soft, but behind the mask lurked a threat. And Anessa understood this, nodding fearfully in agreement. Caesar sat at his desk, lost in thought. He was writing a letter to his sister Adelia, regretting that their communication was now limited by the doctor's orders. A natural melancholy overcame him, but the cherished memory of those moments they had spent together warmed his heart, bringing genuine joy, even in the darkest hours. Thinking of Adelia, Caesar recalled how brightly her smiles shone. His sadness seemed insignificant compared to the happiness he felt simply at the sight of her joy. In her every gesture, in every detail of her behavior, he found inspiration that made him stronger. These feelings filled him with tenderness, despite the distance. Effie brought Adele the writing materials. Adele asked if she needed help composing her response, but Adele, remaining calm, assured her she could handle it herself. She carefully picked up pen and paper, demonstrating determination and confidence that this step would be more than just a formality, but an opportunity to express her sincere thoughts. Adele sat at the table, lost in thought about the time she'd spent with her brother. She compared those moments to touching the stars. They were so magical and luminous. Every moment spent together left an indelible mark on her soul. Mixed emotions overwhelmed her, and she struggled to find the words to express her gratitude. She reflected on how she had no right to desire more than she was allowed. If she overstepped, she risked failing not only herself, but also her brother, ruining their relationship and the respect he held for her. This fear and desire to maintain harmony informed every line she wrote. Every word of her letter expressed admiration for her brother. Adele described his greatness and kindness, comparing him to the qualities of great, inspiring people. Her sincere feelings were filled with gratitude and respect. She recognized how important his support was to her, and sought to express this through simple yet profound phrases. Effie brought the letter to check its contents. The maid was a little surprised by the decisiveness with which Adele had made her decision. However, Adele, looking at her with her piercing eyes, calmly confirmed the correctness of her words. At that moment, her gaze reflected confidence that she had done everything correctly. Lucretia continued her manipulations, reveling in the power she wielded over those around her. Her cold smile and calm voice concealed her true intentions, but she was acutely aware of the powerful influence her persona wielded. She masterfully concealed her true emotions, playing a role that allowed her to maintain control of the situation. Adele's letter was more than just a formality. It was an expression of her inner strength. Every word conveyed her sincerity, her desire not to let her brother down, and her wish to preserve the warmth that bound them together. This moment marked a crucial step for Adele, who chose the path of love, respect, and self-denial. Effie, the brown-haired maid, tells Adele, with a slight smile, that she no longer needs her help. The dark green-haired girl is surprised, but understands that the time has come to act independently. Effie reassures her, saying that Adele is ready to cope on her own. These words sound firm and encouraging, but Adele feels a slight trepidation, wondering how she will manage without her devoted assistant. In a luxurious room, Effie informs Adele that her brother will no longer be able to help her with her studies. Adele is trying to figure out what will happen next when Effie mentions a new dance teacher who will be teaching her. This news leaves Adele with mixed feelings, interest mixed with a hint of anxiety as this unexpected change disrupts her usual routine. The door opens, and Agir, the personal assistant, enters the room with a serious expression. He introduces himself as Adele's new teacher and explains that teaching dance is unusual for him, but he is confident he can help. Adele looks at him doubtfully, not expecting a man with such a stern expression to be able to teach her such a refined art. Adele peers at Agir, trying to understand how he ended up as her mentor. Her thoughts are filled with doubts, as this serious man seems unsuitable, but she decides to give him a chance, realizing that it requires not only trust, but also a willingness to change. Agir, reserved and polite, extends his hand to Adele and expresses his willingness to work with her. His confidence is impressive, though Adele doesn't immediately respond. The gesture instills a sense of security in her, and she cautiously accepts his offer, determined to discover what he has to offer as a teacher. The maid leaves the room, and Agir begins a conversation with Adele. He promises to do everything possible to ensure she is satisfied with the lessons. Agir's words ring true, and this touches Adele slightly, instilling in her the confidence that learning can be more than just a chore, but something exciting and inspiring. Agir, emphasizing the importance of the upcoming lessons, informs Adele that her master wishes her to learn the waltz. The girl accepts the challenge, though her doubts remain. Her curiosity about how Agir will handle the role of teacher gets the better of her, and she prepares to begin her training. During the first dance, Agir's movements seem a little stiff, but his manner reveals a genuine attempt to show off his best side. Adele suddenly notices that despite his awkwardness, there's something charming about his dancing. She begins to think that Agir could well be a worthy rival to her former teachers. While dancing, Adele catches Agir's gaze. His eyes don't frighten her. On the contrary, there's no hint of threat or dominance in them. For the first time, she feels she can trust this man. This moment changes her perception. She begins to see him as more than just a servant, but a person with profound qualities. Finishing the dance, Adele feels the lesson has left her feeling fresh. She admires Agir's performance and realizes their collaboration could be the beginning of something greater. She's curious about what else she might discover through these lessons, and she eagerly awaits their continuation. Adele recalled her first encounter with Agir. He had appeared in her life unexpectedly, and his presence had immediately shrouded her in coldness. She felt the shadow of death looming over him. His entire appearance, movements, and gaze were imbued with something dangerous and dark. He reeked of blood and death, engendering not only fear, but also an involuntary fascination. Adele's thoughts were filled with a scent she associated with the people who lived in gloomy Gomorrah. This place, shrouded in ill repute, seemed to have left its mark on Agir. She guessed he was one of those Caesar used to carry out his dirty and deadly missions. This fact increased her inner tension. She suspected that Agir was involved in Lady Flavia's murder. However, the strangest thing was that afterward, he became her personal bodyguard. Adele wondered why this man with such a dark shadow was now guarding her. She sensed a hidden threat, but she couldn't afford to show weakness. Her heart sank with the realization that her life was now in Ager's hands. He could kill her on command without blinking an eye. This man was a professional at his job, and his cold calm only emphasized this fact. Adele tried to keep her emotions under control, but she couldn't shake the feeling of impending danger. She recalled her escape from the past, when she had narrowly escaped a terrible fate. Now looking around, she saw that the new reality wasn't so different from the old hell. In her struggle for survival, Adele tried to gauge Ager's skill with weapons so she could assess her chances. Aegir avoided answering Adele's questions directly, citing his innocence, but her penetrating gaze captured the confidence he was trying to conceal. She was provoking him, eager to learn more, and his caution only fueled her curiosity. She couldn't decide whether to trust him. After much deliberation, Aegir admitted that he wielded a sword with great skill. This fact calmed Adele somewhat, as it strengthened her confidence that Aegir could at least protect her from external threats. However, she understood that he could only be trusted up to a point. Looking at him, Adele mused that if the moment of her death came, she hoped he could do it quickly and painlessly. The thought was as cold as the atmosphere surrounding Aegir. She tried to suppress this grim image from her thoughts, but she couldn't shake the uneasiness. Remaining in her chambers, Adele ordered a visit to the palace, added to the schedule for tomorrow. She had deliberately chosen this step to gain the opportunity to learn more about those who shaped her destiny. She sensed that the answers to her questions lay hidden among the nobility. Aegir cautiously inquired about her reason for visiting the palace. Adele calmly explained that she wanted to observe members of the nobility, including her brother. This would help her understand how to become a worthy lady and survive in this cold and cruel world. Her gaze was full of determination, and Aegir didn't argue. Adele, with a confident gaze and a slight smile, discusses her plans with Aegir, her trusted aide. She decides to act covertly to observe important events and intends to take Effany with her. Her confidence is reflected in her expression, and her firm tone emphasizes the seriousness of her intentions. Effany, for her part, considers the proposal thoughtfully, feeling a little uneasy as Adele has never made such a request before. She decides to consult with the Lord to avoid any possible repercussions. Effany, looking focused, approaches the Lord to ask his opinion. Despite her inner hesitation, she clearly formulates her request on Adele's behalf. The Lord agrees, but emphasizes that dance lessons must not be missed, reminding her of the importance of discipline. He also orders Adele to be prepared for her meeting with the new instructor. Effany leaves relieved, but still pondering the meaning of this assignment and its potential consequences. Adele sits at her vanity in her chambers, pondering Effany's words. When the maid returns with a report on her conversation with the Lord, Adele thanks her for her efforts and readily accepts the new rules. Her inner resolve remains resolute despite the difficulties that have arisen. Adele's gaze fixed on the mirror is intense, and her subtle gestures betray a hidden tension. She understands that the Lord's actions will not distract her from her primary goal. Lucretia, known for her persistent nature, appears again in Adele's thoughts. Adele reflects on how difficult it will be to maintain her distance from this woman. Adele realizes that a simple conversation won't be enough to break their connection, and she'll have to show more persistence to get Lucretia to back off. The image of Lucretia, with her mysterious smile and confident posture, evokes in Adele a mixture of anxiety and determination to find a way to resist this influence. Adele concludes that Caesar is the key to understanding the current situation. She decides to follow him to gather the necessary information. At the same time, she reminds herself that her primary task is to fulfill the agreement with Delivalle. However, she clearly understands that eliminating Lucretia's influence requires a separate approach. These considerations add tension to her plans, but Adele resolutely prepares to carry out several tasks simultaneously. The girl considers the possible consequences of her actions, even if someone finds out about her agreement with Delivalle. Adele is confident she can find a way out. She emphasizes acting cautiously and strategically, considering every detail. Her gaze becomes more determined, and her thoughts focus on avoiding potential conflicts. Adele understands that the only way to keep the situation under control is to remain calm. Caesar, shadowed by his own plans, watches Adele through the window. His gaze is cold and penetrating, yet there's a hint of understanding. Perhaps he's aware of Adele's actions and is willing to forgive her if it serves his interests. This scene highlights the hidden struggle for power and influence between the characters, creating an atmosphere of tension. Adele remains focused despite the awareness that she too is being watched. Ephany returns to Adele with news. She reports that the Lord has granted her request, but emphasized the need to continue her dance lessons. He also ordered her to prepare for classes with a new instructor. Adele listens attentively to her servant, silently noting the importance of discipline and control over the situation. Her calm, understood, reflects a hidden willingness to accept the challenge without revealing her true emotions. Adele, along with Aegir, chooses a secluded spot in the garden, perfect for observation. No one will notice them here, which gives Adele a sense of security. She surveys her surroundings with concentration, analyzing the situation. Aegir, standing nearby, silently awaits instructions, ready to carry out any orders immediately. The natural surroundings create an illusion of calm, but the tension remains. From her hiding place, Adele notices other participants in the events emerging from the building. Her yellow eyes follow them intently, betraying both interest and concentration. Beside her, Aegir also assesses the situation, his readiness to act complementing Adele's determination. This scene concludes with a sense that events are about to take a new turn, and the intrigues that have already begun will only intensify.